So I think Stefan's going to walk through just a couple of things, and then he's going to get into his presentation on vertical search. And then we've got later this afternoon Danny's presentation on the future of engines, and finally we'll have that expert panel on Q&A, and we'll get a bunch of chairs up here somehow and make that work. So, Stefan, take it.
All right, thanks. So the WordPress.com demonstration I showed before we started the afternoon presentations yesterday were so well received, I thought I'd show a couple other cool examples of things while you guys kind of give you a reward for coming a few minutes early before we're supposed to technically start with vertical search. So one thing I want to show was an example of how to trick out WordPress for a corporate website and really get some search love happening. And so this is an example of a corporate site running WordPress, and I'll just kind of walk you through a little bit around the concepts I talked about yesterday in terms of tagging and tag pages and tag clouds and tag conjunction pages. Just want to show you what that looked like in action and how to bring in related tags, related bits of content for the sidebar, and just really some fun stuff. So here's netconcepts.com. This is my company's corporate website, and you'll see tag clouds here. And you can go in, let's say, to articles, and you'll see that this is a tag page that contains not only the last 10 items or posts tagged with the word articles, but also related tags. These are tags that are this list is created automatically, and all you need to pull this off is a little WordPress plugin called UTW UTW compatibility thing. And the key here is to do the ands. I'd no follow and no index the ors. Those aren't really very valuable, but check this out. So SEO articles, e-commerce articles, blah, 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 blah. Let me just show you email marketing articles so you can see how this looks in Google. I don't think the tag conjunction page has made it to page 1, but last time I checked it was on page 2. And there it is. See, so this is an auto-generated tag conjunction page. These are the last 10 posts that happen to be tagged with the keywords of email marketing and of articles. And I used the SEO title tag plugin to override the default of the tag page default title tag and so forth, so it's more focused around that keyword theme. And you can do sticky posts as well, which I don't know if I did on this page, but on some pages we've actually created a sticky post which adds an extra intro paragraph. It just helps set the stability of the keyword theme for that particular tag page or tag conjunction page, which is kind of cool. And you'll also notice on some of the pages, let's search marketing services. Check this out. The related articles and case studies and testimonials, those all change depending on where you're at within the services section. And these are being pulled through RSS. We're using a plugin called Magpie RSS. And every tag page and tag conjunction page automatically has an RSS feed associated with it. So we pull the last 10 related articles that are tagged with, in this case, search marketing or SEO, with through Magpie RSS, and just grab the RSS feed. And that's just for that particular tag page or tag conjunction page. So we're pulling for these SEO plus articles. For the next group, it's SEO plus case studies. That's pulling from that tag conjunction page, and then SEO plus testimonials. So that works really, really well, and we were so happy with the results. We actually wrote a case study to show how well it worked, even though you're not supposed to do case studies of yourself. We just thought, oh, this is so cool, we have to write about it. And you'll see the traffic. We did a little graph here showing the page view, page view traffic within 2 months doubled. Not bad. So that kind of works pretty well. And then another thing that works really well. So we talked about white hat cloaking yesterday, and some ways of kind of adding additional ways and to slice and dice the content when you have a big site in particular. So here's just a generic search for socks, not a very good search for somebody who's looking to buy socks, because it's going to be things like the socks internet protocol and so forth. So as you get more specialized, as you become more of an expert at searching, so I might do, I don't know, hunting socks. Okay, well there's, now I'm starting to see some good brands in there. In the top results, Cabela's shows up in the front, which is good because that's a client. Men's hunting socks, let's try that. And what you find is you go deeper down in the tail, and a lot of the good brands start to drop away. So now I'm seeing still Cabela's up at the top, that's good, but I'm seeing some brands that I don't really necessarily recognize. I still see Gander Mountain and so forth, but as I go deeper and deeper down in the tail, men's wool hunting socks, you're going to see more and more of the price comparison engines, which actually leads into my vertical search presentation, and fewer of and more of the aggregators, ShopWiki and so forth, and fewer of the major brands that I know and trust. Men's wool, I don't know, men's diabetic wool hunting socks. Diabetic. Okay, well, Cabela's still there, excellent. And BizRate and eBay, and where are the other brands? So this is a real problem that you need to rectify, and internal linking structure and all the stuff we talked about yesterday helps you with that. So let me actually just pull up this one that I was looking at earlier. And one of the ways that we do that is through Tag Cloud. And I can't tell you the secret sauce as to how we generated the keywords that go into that tag cloud, but it works really well. And then you got intro copy and H1 tags and so forth. And the beauty of what we've done here is we didn't actually do major invasive surgery to the native website. This page is being generated via a proxy server that sits on top. Okay, so this is a whole approach that you could consider, is using a proxy server in the middle that interjects the optimizations, and then you don't have to re-architect your e-commerce platform and do all this sort of major surgery, which could take years to implement. You can do anything with an intermediary proxy, like rewrite your URLs, add intro copy, change out whatever in the H1 tags, add H1 tags, change out title tags, add internal navigation, take your Flash navigation and toss it and replace it with friendly text, search-friendly text navigation, add tag clouds. It's amazing what you can do. So just some wild out there ideas for you to consider as you go back home. All right, so let's move into vertical search. We've got a lot to cover in a little bit of time. How many minutes do I have? An hour and a half, 2, 4, 6, 8? No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going to go through this real fast because I know we got an excellent presentation coming up after mine. We've got the inventor of search engine optimization. Are you the inventor, Danny? Where's Danny? Danny was here. There he is. Hey, Danny. You are the guru of gurus, so I can't wait to hear you speak. And we're just going to kind of cover real quickly vertical search, but I don't want to focus on the bazillions of little engines out there. And for your particular vertical, that may make a lot of sense. If you're B2B, there's some great vertical engines specifically for you. If you're in, if you're selling products, you're in e-commerce, there are particular shopping-oriented engines that are really important to you. Price Grabber, Shopzilla, NextTag, and so forth. There's some value to be found there. If you are interested in marketing your particular bits of media, and it's like video media and podcasts and so forth, there's some great vertical search engines particular to that media type. And that's great. But in reality, there really is a large market dominance with the major players being Google and Yahoo. And if you look at vertical search, they have they have things pretty well covered with, like just say Google Maps, Google Images, Google Product Search, Google Scholar, Google Book Search, Google Blog Search, Google News, Google Customs or CSE, Custom Search Engine, Google U.S. Government Search, You know, they've got a bazillion different vertical engines. Yahoo similarly has a lot of vertical engines as well. And the great thing about these different vertical engines owned by the major players like Google and Yahoo is blended search. Those top results can get incorporated into the main results. And Danny actually calls this vertical creep, which sounds kind of evil, but it's pretty cool because it means that you end up, if you think of your top 10 results in the SERPs as kind of like the shelf space, you get to occupy more spots in the shelf space. And that eye level in the grocery stores, being eye level on the shelf space is critical. And here's more opportunities to get at eye level, so to speak, in the SERPs. So let's focus this particular presentation around the major engines, Google and Yahoo, and I'll focus more on Google than Yahoo. And we'll just see how do we infiltrate, so to speak, those vertical search slots, the one box and the universal search within Google. And I'm just showing here some screenshots of universal search in action on Google. Here I did a search for Iraq War, and you can see that news results preempt the first natural result. And of course, the first natural results are Wikipedia. Thank you very much. And then you get news results at the bottom of the page, but that's actually news archive results. Doing a product-related search like Canon G9 returns shopping results from Google Product Search. So if you're in the top 3 in Google Product Search, and that particular result is then brought into main web search, you're going to get a heck of a lot of traffic from that. So it's well worth your while to get into Google Product Search and do well with it. Here's an example of a set of results where you have not products or news results, but actually video results showing up with little like screen grabs or whatever of the video. The interesting thing here is that this isn't actually YouTube, which is we're accustomed to seeing, right? YouTube and Google Video showing up in the universal search. Here's a competitor. This is JumpCut, owned by Yahoo, showing up with a enhanced result with the little screen grab over on the side, which is pretty cool. So it's not just JumpCut that you'll see this, or YouTube. You can see, well, let's see, what would Vimeo, I think, or not Vimeo, Veo. And there's just a bazillion of these different sites where you can host video content. And many of them are showing up in the universal results, which is pretty cool. All right, so these are just more examples. This is kind of curious, right? So I did a search for LG refrigerator, which used to actually return shopping results at the very top of the page, but now it's in the middle of the page. So I took a screen grab like 3 months ago of LG refrigerator, and the shopping results were at the top. How many of you see this pretty regularly, shopping results in the middle of the page? Yeah. So I don't know why that's happening more, but yeah, it's not as it kind of lowers the value of being in the top 3 when your listing is down in the middle there. So Sony Television did a search here, and you'll see that didn't actually generate shopping results above the fold or even on the front page or first page of results, but Sony TV did, which is kind of curious. Why did product result show up for Sony TV but not Sony Television? All right, and then the same thing on Yahoo. Nikon Coolpix S51 search on Yahoo. You'll see some enhanced results. Yahoo shortcut there with links to Amazon, BuyDig, and Beach Camera. And Palm Trio 750, similar sort of thing here. And you get live search results same sort of thing where you've got an enhanced listing when it pulls it in from product search, and iPod Nano, similar sort of situation. Vizio LCD TV. So how do we get to the top of Google product search so that we can hopefully get into the top of Google web search? Well, first and foremost, you have to submit your feed to Google Base. Can't just sit on your laurels here. You really need to get in there and optimize your feed. And first step, of course, is having a feed at all. And that can be difficult if you're not selling traditional products, at least products as far as what Google considers to be products. For example, one of our clients is a very large travel site, and they sell, flights, air tickets, and travel packages, car rentals, hotels, bookings, that sort of stuff. That's not actually a product as far as Google product search defines it. So you can't get into Google product search with your car rentals and travel packages and hotels and flights. Real estate similarly. In your feed, if you do qualify to have to be in Google product search, you need to do what Brian Smith, who's one of the real experts on this area, calls data feed optimization, DFO. So it's like SEO, but DFO focuses around the feed and optimizing it, making sure that the keywords are in the right places, that you populate as many of the fields as possible with data, right? So if you look at a site colon search on Google Base, and how many of you have done this? Gone to Google Base and done a site colon search on it? Okay, yep. So that's a really great way to kind of get a quick sense of either your clients or your competitors, just how they're doing. Because very quickly you can see that, for example, when I took the screenshot, posted August 10th appears next to every result there. So the feed was refreshed pretty recently. It was actually from the day before, so I took the screenshot on August 11th. So that's great. I've seen plenty where there is just like a really old posting date, like a month ago. This one is posted July 15th. So that was 30 days prior to when I took the screen grab, or almost 30 days. That's not ideal. Okay, that's just one of the things that if you can update on a daily basis, do it. Don't update once every 30 days because there is a freshness benefit that a rankings benefit that you get by having really fresh data. And you can iterate faster as well. It's not just you're going to rank better, but you're going to be able to iterate faster. Another thing too is that you'll compare those two screen grabs, screenshots, and you'll see that the Cabela's one has a lot more data in terms of like category information, item information, brands, price and condition and so forth, compared to the second one. So another missed opportunity. These guys need to populate more fields with data that they submit to Google Base. Let's see, did I miss anything else here? Yeah, let's move on. So create your feed and optimize. Kind of best practice SEO applies in terms of keyword research and incorporating the keywords and the synonyms in the right places, higher up in the title, higher up in the description copy. It gives you more keyword prominence, that sort of stuff. So that's all good basic sort of advice. Also, you want to include pictures in with the product information. In fact, with live search, no photo equals no show. You're just not going to show up. So be sure to include your pictures. And this is a great way to incorporate image search optimization in with your product search optimization. So we'll get into more image SEO in a little bit. Seller ratings play a big role in rankings in Google, and you can manage your ratings at contributor sources like Deal Time and Nextag, PriceGrabber, Reseller Ratings, Shopzilla, etc. All right, and now ePinions would be a great place to. Our product ratings are important, and so sites like ePinions are great too. You get ratings and that will help your rankings. It appears that product names and brand names and item titles may work better. It's yeah. So let's move on because I'm running out of time here. So quality scores, keyword density, blah blah blah. We gotta move on. Let's talk about image search. Images on your site should include keywords in the image file name. All right. So this is just kind of, most of this is a no-brainer type stuff, right? You want good alt tags or alt attributes. You want to have good file names to your images and so forth. But let's just step back for a moment and ask, why would we want to rank well in Google Images? Okay, so many of our retailer clients, and that is kind of a rhetorical question, but thank you for offering to answer. The thing about Google image search, we get a lot of complaints from our clients who are mainly retailers, and they say, well, these are horrible customers. They do not buy from us, right? They don't convert. Google Images traffic oftentimes does not convert. They want to just rip off your images, and it's just wasted traffic. But on the other hand, it is another branding impression if your image appears in the main web search. Right? So if you can have your product show up, your brand show up in the main web search results for Google, that's not a bad thing. And so yeah, the traffic's not going to be great. It's going to be a lot of people ripping your stuff off. But hey, it's still, I think, worth just spending a little bit of effort trying to optimize for. And that includes, as I said, good file names for your images, good alt attributes for your images, good descriptive text adjacent to the images, right? So if you have captions, for example. If you also think about the major keyword theme of the page itself. What is that page singing to the search engines? As Danny likes to say, you know, singing, what's the song that the page sings to the search engines? So that includes things like the title tag and H1 tag and keyword prominence, right? Is it the sole picture about that keyword subject in the main content area of the page, right? And rather than over on the sidebar, or being one out of 100 different images on the page. These help really set the keyword focus for that image. And also opt into Google Image Labeler via Webmaster Central, as I showed you guys yesterday. All right, images on your site should not include an embedded thumbnail in the image. Right? You can do that in Photoshop, and I would not do that. You shouldn't infringe on copyrights, obviously, right? So there's a lot of Creative Commons licensed imagery that's great, and a lot of folks, bloggers and so forth, will search specifically for Creative Commons licensed content. So they'll go to Flickr and do an advanced search, or they'll use Yahoo Creative Commons search or the Creative Commons search at the Creative Commons site to find great content. If you're the owner, if you make your content Creative Commons licensed, a lot of people will use that. So I think Jane actually mentioned Creative Commons is a great way. In your presentation, did you mention, or was it Ran? I think it was yours, yeah. Sorry about that. You had a great presentation too, though, Jane. Yeah. So be located in, you don't want to be located in the sidebar column with all your ads and other things, because it will, you know, the Chrome and the navigation type elements are going to be semi-ignored in terms of the value of that imagery. Don't do duplicate images. You know, vary the height and width and aspect ratio and the cropping and so forth, so that your image, even if it's of Michelangelo's David, is somewhat different from everyone else's Michelangelo David photo. Here's just a quick little table of some of the major photo sites, and I have to give credit to Chris Smith from Net Concepts, from one of my colleagues, because he's the one who really delves deep into image search and local search and assembles these sorts of tables and best practice reports and so forth. And so he's really the true expert, and he should be here presenting, not me, but in his in his stead, here I am. So take it easy on me when it's Q&A time. So you can see, of course, Flickr wins as far as in his table, he put the top one first, being that Flickr really is the best opportunity to do image optimization on a photo sharing site. It just gives you so much more flexibility and has just so much more oomph and great community and everything. It's not to say that you shouldn't also look at these other community sites to contribute photos to, but Flickr is really a primary focus. And you'd want to look at the title, the H1, the captions, the tagging, the cross-grouping, the comments on the photo, the sharing, how much it's being shared, alt text, optimal linking hierarchies, and date taken and page views displayed. Okay, so there's a lot of different moving pieces here, moving parts. And so here's just some ideas around image SEO via Flickr specifically. And of course, you want a no-brainer here, have really good photos. Make sure that the contrast is good and it's something that is really appealing. Add a unique title appropriate to the image. Don't do keyword stuffing here. But make it a good keyword-rich title. Add a description for the photo, or even write an article to go with the image and include that as the description. Always tag your image with keywords. You should not have a photo in any of your photo sets that isn't keyword tagged. Be specific and add as many apropos terms as possible without going overboard into the spamming sort of keyword stuffing category. Make photos publicly viewable, of course, unless they have you in compromising positions. And consider loose licensing, i.e. Creative Commons. Right, so encourage people to rip off your photo and with the idea that they're going to attribute you, right? There's different levels of Creative Commons licensing, and one of them is just like you can do it. You can do whatever you want with the photo as far as what commercial use or non-commercial use doesn't matter. I just want attribution for it. That's my favorite. Also, if the photo is location specific, you can geotag the picture. That's really cool. And if you're taking many location specific pictures, consider using a camera that has built-in GPS. Any of you have such a camera? And it actually automatically codes the geolocation with the photo in the metadata. That is awesome. So definitely consider that if you take a lot of photos and you believe that these photos are good enough, they're going to start making their way through the blogosphere and through various social sites when people share it. Because it's Creative Commons licensed. Create thematic sets for your photos. And again, good keywords for these thematic sets. Doesn't hurt either. Add each picture to the set appropriate for it. Search through Flickr groups for groups that would be interested in or thematically related to your photo. And join these groups. And then you can add your photo to them. All right, you can also consider, if you have a blog, having your photos actually hosted on Flickr instead of just using the WordPress admin and uploading the photos. You can actually host them on Flickr and have a little attribute thing, a caption type link underneath the photo that drives people to the Flickr page, and that will encourage people to use that photo as well. When they read your blog post and they see it's a Flickr hosted photo and they click on it, go to the Flickr page and it's Creative Commons licensed, oh, that's cool. I might just use that. Add links into the description fields of your Flickr photo pages back to related pages on your site. And that's always a good idea. And post as many pictures as possible into Flickr. More pictures are going to result in more traffic. So if you only, it's basically what you give is what you get out of it. Just like with any other social network or social site, there's social service, right? So if you only tweet once every 2 months, you're not going to get much out of Twitter. If you only post a photo into Flickr once every 2 months, that's about what you're going to get out of it, is just a little bit. Post each picture's page over to Delicious as well. You might have seen over in the bottom right of the photo pages, there's a little Delicious logo where you can add that, add a social bookmark. If you're targeting high popularity keywords, try experimenting with re-uploading your pictures, since image freshness might affect relevancy. right? But don't go overboard there. I'd be careful not to re-upload your photo constantly. If you're photo blogging, add a dig link at the end of your text as well on your photo blog, and sometimes add a note directly onto a region of the photo, particularly humorous notes, right? So you can actually do this within Flickr. You can take a piece of the photo and add comments to it. All right, so that is image search, and particularly Google Images optimization and using Flickr to achieve that. Let's go on to local search and focusing primarily on Google Maps or Google Local, and then many of these tactics will have similar benefits elsewhere. But I'm going to cover Google. I'm going to cover local, and then I'll jump into mobile for just a little bit, and there's a little bit of overlap between them. So dependent upon all the classic, you've got standard sort of SEO principles still applying as far as like keyword prominence and use of keywords and so forth, and that includes like the title tag in H1 and the text in the body copy and in the image alt attributes and so forth. You also have your page rank or link juice having an impact as well, and keywords in the anchor text, right? So good anchor text, not click here, keywords in the URL. These are all good classic ranking factors that also work in local search. But there's also some more, and these include the business name being in the title, similar business name or category keyword in the domain name, local address or on web pages or on the Contact Us page. Right, so make sure that you have what looks like an address. And I'm a big fan of microformats too, so if you can work in microformat with your addresses, that's always good. Phone number on web pages as well. Proximity to your city centroid can actually make a difference as well. So the closer you are to the city, the better. Number of user ratings you have. I've heard some horror stories of some folks who've gotten calls from some major Yellow Pages sites, and when they refuse to re-up or to enhance their listing, and they've actually seen their ratings or all the customer reviews within that Yellow Pages site disappear. That's pretty evil, isn't it? I'm not going to say who, but as far as which Yellow Pages sites are conducting that, but that's a little bit over-aggressive sales behavior. Business categorizations in Yellow Pages and the business site tied to Google Maps listing. So these are all factors that help influence your rankings in local search. And here we're just seeing an example of local results showing up in the main web search. Sushi restaurant San Francisco. And here's another one, San Francisco accountants. And let's focus on this particular first result, the A-labeled result. Okay, you can see that there's also, by the way, the first natural result is superpages.com. So that's one of the Yellow Pages sites, and they are very well optimized, and that's in large part due to the fact that Chris Smith, who gave me all this wonderful data, he actually used to head up SEO for Superpages, and he did just a killer job there. And you'll see also that this first result, the Burr, Pilger, and Mayer LLP, not only are they in the first position, they're also on the Superpages page that's ranked number 1, and if you scroll down, they're in the first page of results. So they're in the natural results and in the local results. Now if we have a look at what this looks like on a cell phone. I've got an iPhone, so mine looks markedly better than this. But you can see as you scroll down, this is what the listings look like, and yep, there they are. Having a look at their home page. What are some of the things they've done right? Well, they've worked in some good keywords, local-related keywords or location-related keywords into their title tag, like San Francisco accounting. They worked it into their body copy. And they've got links from reputable sites. such as this one, Smart Pros. Right, and then you can see here when you do a Google Cache view of the page that the word accountants actually, or I'm sorry, the word San Francisco appear, oh no, accountants, I'm sorry. The word accountants only appears in anchor text pointing to this page, not on the text itself. So that really helps. The anchor text links pointing to these to this guy does definitely have a profound impact. Here's an example of a Superpages page that links to him with a really good, solid keyword theme around San Francisco accountants. Now let's move into optimizing for mobile search. Ranking factors include the pages being in mobile format, right, XHTML mobile, and submitting a mobile sitemap. Let's talk about Google's mobile sitemaps. Google Mobile Spider is separate from regular Googlebot. How many of you track the mobile stuff and like when Google Mobile is spidering you and that sort of stuff? Anyone? Anyone care about this? Should I just move on? Okay. All right, we'll keep going. So Google Mobile Spider's separate from regular Googlebot. Google indexing and ranking is separate from the main as well, and document request headers delivered by Google's mobile crawl will always use the HTTP accept header to explicitly tell your site that it should return documents with mobile content types. Okay, and then Google Mobile uses unique user agent string that's called Googlebot-mobile. So if you do any analysis using your log files or you look in your analytics reporting, you might notice that. Google News. Let's move on to. So I really don't have much more to say about mobile because that is not really my area of expertise. I'm pretty spoiled by having an iPhone. I think everybody will have an iPhone and we won't have to optimize for mobile, other than developing a really cool iPhone app. All right, so let's move on to Google News. And I'm a huge fan of Google News. I know there have been stats that show that Yahoo News is one of the top most popular news sites in the world, but I'm a fan of Google News. It is risen in popularity significantly. I think maybe a year or two ago it was somewhere in the 20s, like top 20 something. Now it's in the top 5 worldwide of news portals. I think where is Yahoo News? Is it number 2 still, or?
They're also top 5. I don't know.
Yeah. Yahoo News has been there for a long time in the top 5, but Google News has really climbed quite a lot. You can submit your site for consideration for Google News, and there's the URL to do it. It used to be that you had to just like know the right email address to send it to, and just got lucky basically to get in. Here is what the acceptance letter sort of looks like if you get into Google News. Now, one of the key things about Google News, if you have a blog, how many of you have a blog that you'd like to get into Google News? Okay, so here's the secret that will automatically get you not considered. If it is a solo blog, you're screwed. Okay, so if you are the solo blogger on that blog, forget it, you are not going to get into Google News. You need to have a multi-author blog. So for example, my blog at stefanspencer.com, no way, it's never going to make it into Google News. It would have to be a group blog, and that acceptance letter from, or acceptance email from Google was specifically for one of the other blogs that NetConcepts owns, businessblogconsulting.com, which is a group blog. It has, I think, 20 different authors. It also must have original content. Duh. You want to have your scraper blog submitting to Google News. Give proper attribution. Whenever you're citing sources, you need to give proper attribution, and have fast response time, server response time. Okay, and here's how you can create a Google News sitemap. Just follow this link and it'll give you some good information about that. So you can submit. I strongly encourage you, if you have video content, news content, mobile content, submit a separate sitemap for each one of them. For Google News, Google Mobile and Google and video. There's all sitemap feeds that you can submit. And then Google penalizes sites that run too many duplicates of stories from other sites, as well as too many duplicates of stories from its own site. All right, moving on to Google Blog Search. And how many more minutes do I have?
-7.
Damn, -7. Okay, Google Blog Search is awesome. I love it, and thank you very much. I'm kidding. Settle down. All right, so Google Blog Search. How many of you go to Google Blog Search directly and use it? Good for you. Good for you. Just normal, sort of average users, I think, are less prone to use Google Blog Search than us bloggers and SEOs. But what you do find is that Google Blog Search does provide a decent amount of traffic, so it's definitely worth focusing on. And here's some tips to make sure that you can put your best foot forward. What you don't want to have happen is this, right? Have you seen this before? Right? Not a good look. Not a good look. This is fixed, by the way. And yes, I own that site, Business Blog Consulting. At the time, though, I had disavowed any knowledge of this. I didn't actually we bought the site about a year ago. Yeah, a year ago. And yeah, so I didn't own it then. But here's what happened. The default in WordPress, the default tagline, which is actually used in the description container in your RSS feed, just another WordPress weblog. That's the default. If you don't change that and you say, well, that doesn't appear anywhere on my blog. Oh, yes, it does. It appears in the RSS feed, which is what Google used to create that. Not a good look. All right, so I am a huge fan of full text feeds. I think full text feeds are fantastic for bloggers. They're fantastic for search engines, fantastic for syndication. If you just use summary feeds, not only are you limiting the amount of information that's delivered in the RSS feed, you actually don't even have the capability to put HTML in. Right? There's the content encoded container in RSS is not there when you're doing what's called a summary feed. You want that in there, and for multiple reasons, not just that it'll look pretty when you make it HTML rendered, right? So you can work in images and H1 tags or whatever. No, not just that. You can also work in what are called web bugs. So those of you who are into analytics are familiar probably with the term web bug, and it's just basically a way of tracking that the page was viewed, or if it was an email campaign that the email was opened and rendered in HTML. What happens is that it's got a unique file name, this image, and then when that's loaded, your server knows that particular person, or not person, that particular email or blog post was actually accessed and that image was loaded. So that's a really nice thing that you can't do if you're just doing a summary feed, is track those opens. I tend to favor having more items in my feed than fewer. You can change that in WordPress and many of the blog platforms. You can actually specify how many items go out in your feed. I like doing 20, and the 10 is the default. Multiple feeds. I'm a big fan of multiple feeds. And you'll be able to see that when you go to my homepage and you see latest posts. Well, that's the obvious one that everybody has, but I also have a latest comments RSS feed. And as you scroll down, you'll see every single one of my categories has an RSS feed. And I think that's good, not just for not just for search engines, but also for users. This is a really a wonderful tool. If, let's say I'm a Forrester research analyst, right, and I cover search. But I don't cover podcasting and email marketing and branding and conversion and that sort of stuff. I just cover search. Well, I can subscribe to my RSS feed that only covers search-related posts. That's handy, and that could be the difference between them subscribing to your feed or not. Another thing is, just good keyword-rich descriptions and titles. All the same sort of general principles of basic SEO copywriting apply yet again. when you're optimizing for Google Blog Search and just for feed optimization in general. Having a good keyword-rich item title for every single post, having your brand name in the item title as well, it's good. The main title container for the feed itself, you want to have your most important keyword in there, and probably the name of your site would go in there as well. Compelling site description, so there's a description container specific to the overarching RSS feed, and so you can write a good description there. Don't put tracking codes into the URLs in these. So you have a link container which contains the URL for each. You have each item, right? And each item has information about it, like the title of it and the description, or the content encoded container and all these sorts of things. Well, there's one for for a link, and that contains your URL where the spiders or the humans would go if they like that item and they want to read the whole post, or go to your site and see that permalink page. The last thing you want to do is to put some sort of tracking flag or parameter on those URLs. And I've seen this time and time again. Source equals feed, source equals RSS, source equals whatever. And it creates the whole duplicate content issue yet again. And so let's move on to optimizing for video, or video search. There are multiple video sharing sites, as I alluded to earlier. And seriously, how much time do I have? -7 now? Okay. -50. Oh, you were serious. I really was at -7. Damn it. Okay, so real quick. YouTube, MySpace, Rever, MetaCafe, Dailymotion, JumpCut. There are tons of these video sharing sites out there. There is a really cool tool called TubeMogul. How many of you have heard of it? That's excellent. So that's a great way to save a lot of time and hit a lot of these major video sharing sites just all in one go. And video file size limits vary depending on each service, but if you're using TubeMogul, it will help you kind of sort that all out. And
I got a quick question about TubeMogul for you.
Yep.
Do you think there's any value in having, obviously you set the title description, so it's the same for all those sites. Do you think there's any value if you do some keyword research and you have different titles, different descriptions for the different sharing sites, so you can go after the long tail and try and get that video to show up for more relevant keywords and keyword phrases?
Oh, that's a good question. So if you have your video uploaded to 10 different services, do you want to go to the...
It's obviously really easy and really efficient with TubeMogul. At the same time, I'm wondering if you had different title, different description, optimized for your keyword set.
Yeah, it's all about your, how much time you have, and if you have the time to spend to craft unique titles and descriptions for each one, I would opt to do that. I would say that is a useful thing to do, and I would focus on the bigger services to do that on. Like YouTube would be my first priority. Have something that's the most optimal keyword-rich version there, with your most important keywords targeted. But then something like JumpCut or VO would be less important to me personally, because YouTube just gets so much.
Yeah, I get so much.
Yeah. And there's some great things you can do to increase your visibility in YouTube specifically, such as channels and good use of tags, keyword rich tags, and mood-based tags as well. So for mood-based searches like funny and stuff like that, that would be great. And we're out of time, so I don't think we have any more Q&A. Thank you very much.
I'm thrilled that Danny was able to join us. He's between speaking gigs at SES and tomorrow at Nomedex. Obviously, Danny's the editor-in-chief for Search Engine Land, and also the founder of Door Media, which runs Spin and Search Engine Land and Search Marketing Now and the SMX Conference Series, which SEO Moz is thrilled to participate in and help out. And obviously, for those of you who haven't seen me write very nice things about Danny for years and years, I have a very high opinion. So I'm thrilled that he was able to join us. I think you're going to really find this interesting. I got to see a smidgen of this presentation in Australia. It's tricky. So,
cool.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much. Oh, I've got 2 mics.
Got 2.
So, and I love Rand, so everything he said, like back at him. But more.
Reciprocal linking.
I know. But that's fine. It's okay. Reciprocal linkings you don't need to fear. That's okay. It's only if it was paid.
Sorry, here.
And they can tell. And it was an unnatural payment. I like that. Unnatural payments. We're not against paid links, just unnaturally paid links. I would have paid for that link anyway, anybody. So, how many of you have seen the keynote I did? I did a keynote at SMX West. Anybody see that keynote? You're going to be kind of bored. But I did change a few things, and because it's always like evolving or whatever, but I'll try to spice it up. Except there were some parts that were spicing it up that came from Australia, but I'm going to dump all those because Stefan went so long. But then as you'll see, I was glad he went long, and if he had gotten hesitant, I'd say keep going, because he did a much better job than what I was going to do, because I was putting a bunch of things together. What do I push?
Oh, left and right.
Oh, right. I'm pushing the red button.
Yeah, that's the one that points at the. You can push the red button and it'll laser.
Oh, nice. So I did this thing early this year. I started talking about Search 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, and I kind of thought, well, maybe I'm freaking people out with these. See, and it goes that way, actually. I thought maybe I'm freaking people out. Like, where did all these numbers come from, and how did I pull them out of my head? With my head. I didn't pull them anywhere else. And what I was trying to explain, I probably did. What I was trying to explain and really get across to people was how search is really going through a major evolution right now. And I thought, well, maybe if I start using point numbers, then you'll understand it, marketers will understand it in the way that we tend to understand, well, I guess Office 2007 is better than Office 2003 because, it's 2007. If they had called Vista Windows 5.0, we'd probably like it. They just changed the name, so we didn't understand it was a great evolution. So the idea is that we've had these changes, and that we've had an upgrade to search, and that there's some significant changes that are coming from that the marketers like yourselves out there need to be aware of. So I want to go back in time a bit and talk about, well, what came before 3.0 and 2.0 or 1.0, before 4.0 and so on. So Search 1.0 to me would have been first generational web search, the idea of location frequency of the terms on the page. This is your Alta Vista, this was your Lycos. They'd go through and they say, oh, okay, we want to rank the top pages that are out there. So who's saying cars the most? And who's saying cars at the top of the page? And who's saying cars in H1? I guess you win. Is Stephen Mahaney, are you out there? Are you really there? That's great. It's like, Steven's he's been running Planet Ocean newsletters for ages, and you would know this intimately, because wasn't it sucky when it started changing and we got past that, because suddenly you couldn't just say, well, just here's the perfect formula. Because it was pretty easy to figure out what to do after that. In fact, those few of you that out there may remember InfoSeek was, for a short period of time, allowing you to instantly add a page to InfoSeek. It was awesome. So you'd go in, you'd submit your page, and you'd see where it ranked. You go, oh, it didn't like that. Okay, well. And then you'd submit it again. You go, oh, now I'm number 7. Okay. You submit it again, like now you're number 3. And then like some guy or gal or whatever on the other side would be going, oh, I'm number 7. Okay. And people would be fighting each other. And it had nothing to do with links. It was just like, well, now I'll put the word 5 times and instantly get your feedback. You can only do that now through Yahoo with paid inclusion, but that's really cool. It's true. True. That's one of the advantages of Yahoo paid inclusion. You get to throw your pages in there and see how well they react. So this was it. This was spamming. You want to be out there, you just put in a bunch of words out there, buy Levitra, because I guess that's better than Viagra or whatever. And I just happened to use San Jose because I was trying to localize it. It wasn't like I was looking for it in San Jose or anything like that. And then we got a little more clever over time. People said, well, this still doesn't tend to work as much anymore. You'll still see it out there in some cases, but maybe we'll hide it a little bit. We'll shove a big image up here at the top, but down below, we'll just have, here's my experience. Oh, here's some top Google sites on the same page, because those are really good. And here's some ways that you might search for it. And here's some more top websites, according, and it goes on and on and on. So it's CRUD content, just designed to go out there and get the top ranking, and just looking at the words that are on the page. So the search is like, yeah, it's kind of uncool. We didn't really mean for you to just manipulate the words out there. We were trying to figure out which was the best pages based on the content. So you know what? We're gonna have a second evolution now. Search 2.0. They didn't call it that, but this is what we went through. We're going to use off-the-page ranking factors that the webmaster themselves cannot directly influence. We'll do things like click-through. I know the people at Direct Hit were great. They especially pioneered this. They said, can you see if I'm walking back and forth? If I block a crucial noun, let me know. My son's been on the airplane, discovered Mad Libs, and he's crazy for them now. And he's like, what's a noun? I don't know, leave me alone. So if I'm trying to go, now what's an adverb again? I am an English major, but was that modifying? I know modifying the verb, but anyway, so if I block a crucial noun or adverb, we can substitute something in. So they came on click-through. People at Direct Hit said, well, I know what we'll do. We'll measure, say, the way people are clicking on their search results. And if we can see that, say, generally 20% of the time, whatever's in the top 3 listing always gets clicks at 20% rate. And suddenly we see, for some reason, a number 3 getting a 25% click rate. That's probably a better result. I mean, people are bypassing the things above it. So let's move it up higher. And if something's not getting as much of a click rate, let's move it down lower. And it makes a lot of sense, right? You watch what people are clicking on, things are getting more clicks, you should take them higher. Unless you're a marketer, then it makes great sense, because you're like, I'm just going to click on myself. Well, yeah, I'm doing great, doing great, doing great. So they were really no, we've got ways, we've got spam protection, it's all going to be great. I remember talking to them a year after they did this. They're like, yeah, we're on a 6th generation of spam detection. We didn't really understand. Yeah, no, you didn't. Anyway, so then there was, of course, links. And this is great. This is the Google thing, because it's the democratic nature of the web. Because the web is like democracy, which is never subverted. And, people who should be elected get elected. You don't have to go to the Supreme Court and wait 8 years for the end of, we're mostly liberal, right? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Woohoo! So, anyway, so enough of that. I don't want to get too political, but so yeah, the links could never be manipulated. It's great, but important. It drives me crazy. It's still important, and I would talk to people sometimes way back then, and they still weren't getting this, and still don't get it today. It's never, ever been just the number of links you get with Google. It has been the quality and the context of the links. The context of the links are, what do the links say? Amazon comes up number 1 for books because the word books is in a lot of the links pointing to Amazon. Do a search for cars, they don't come up because what? Nobody's linking to Amazon saying it's a great place to buy cars, because it's not really. Unless you want the Cars DVD, I suppose. And the quality of the links. You get 100 billion links from all over the place, and they're all crud. It's like, finding a bunch of people you don't really respect and saying, hey, I need a doctor. I don't know, there's a good doctor, go over here, You need a good doctor? Well, I'm searching for you. You're going to trust somebody with a little bit more authority. So context and the quality of those links. And so that was great. And, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I had some problems. So, for example, unbelievably, people figured out ways to manipulate links. I know this is a really difficult concept to digest. That somebody might figure a system out and try to do something different with it. Classic example here is a miserable failure search. Love miserable failure. It's been very, very good to me because I get to write about it and I get all the traffic from it. Here, George W. somebody, I don't remember his name, but some people didn't really like him as president, so they said, you know what, let's all link to him and say miserable failure. We'll do that. It'll be great. Unless you're George Bush. So they all started linking to him, and then a lot of the liberals really got, no, the conservatives got really upset about that. So we'll get even. We'll link to Carter. Right? And we'll link to Hillary. The problem is the conservatives had too many people that they hated. So they diluted their linking value and it went away. Also, just a side note, it really ticks me off, and I wouldn't didn't vote for him in the first place, but really, really hate him, in his great ineptness, when they finally realized at the White House that this is kind of ranking for miserable failure and it kind of sucks, they decided that they would get rid of his page. They used to point to George W. Bush's own biography. Got rid of the page. 301 did over to, oh yes, the page for the entire United States president. So whoever's going to get reelected in the future, they get to be a miserable failure too. Thank you for that legacy, George W. Bush, right? Thank you for looking out for America, taking care of us, just leaving us off there. I'd just like to say I did ask the White House about this. As you might suspect, didn't really call me back. Oh well. Annoyed Google, so Google had to start saying, we told you that we had all the most relevant results and we needed democracy and everything, but by the way, some of you guys are upset why this is happening, so, and we don't have a really good way to explain what's upsetting, so we'll just put an ad over here to tell you, why are we getting these results for Bush? Because we hate him! No. So then, last year, Google had enough, so Matt had said, I'll just take his ad, take his listing off and they'll stop harassing us. So then he was gone. That was it. No, actually, Google did some super secret stealth thing that they said uses a way of looking at whether or not the words that you link to actually appear on the page, and if there's some absurd amount of links that are happening that seems out of proportion. And by the way, there's probably some other stuff that's going on by hand that's happening that I still don't want to admit. But anyway. So it all goes away. But where Google falls down when they start telling you about how this is all automated to get rid of the Google bombs is one slips through, and everybody goes, why'd that slip through? And then a week later it goes away, and then they go, well, it doesn't run on a continual basis. Yeah, okay. Tell that to Stephen Colbert, who was the world's greatest American until you blew him out of the water. Anyway, so Search 3.0. The blended results, we talked about universal search, and Stefan had picked up earlier, and then personalized social results. I'll probably spend a bit more time on this, even though there's actually less to say about it. What? Blended results? It's like blend it, right? Will it blend? We'll put in local, we'll put in vertical, put an iPhone in, push it. No, it doesn't blend. That's why Yahoo sucks. No. So anyway, what happened in 2007, I love this. We had blended search come across all the major search engines like this. They all had different names for them. Google came along, they called it universal search. I don't even know if I hit the right thing there. I used to have Ask up there, but who cares? So I just took them out to shorten up the slides. And then Yahoo came along, and they kind of call it Yahoo Answers, as I'll explain a bit more. And Live doesn't even know their own name, much less what they want to call their blended search, right? And when Yahoo rolled theirs out, we were on the phone with them, we had an editor's call, I'm begging them, please give it some kind of a name, because if you don't give it a decent name, everybody's going to go, Yahoo's universal search, which people do. Anyway, so I don't want to call it universal search because that's Google's name, so that's like calling, rollerblades when they're technically inline skates, even though I still call them rollerblades anyway, because what the heck. Sue me. But I am doing it better here. So blended search, and actually the search engines are kind of using it too. They start using it as a generic term to talk about it. The idea that the vertical results get blended in the way that Stefan's shown you earlier. I'll do a bit more as we come along. And to me, these are synonyms. For me, I say Search 3.0 simply as to try to wake you up that blended search means an evolutionary jump. We've come into a new reign of, we don't really have to just worry about the web search results that are out there, i.e. the page rank is vertical search, which is why Stefan's thing just rocked. I'll do a bit more on vertical search because I got, I think, a cool illustration. How many don't still, even after you heard Stefan, kind of don't, why do we call it vertical search again? Anybody? You totally are all hip on why we call it vertical search now?
It's a vertical mark.
Okay.
It's a specific type of medium.
I know why we call it, but I was asking if specific type of medium. Okay, everybody else, because I could do I'm going to do it anyway, so I asked you. But if you don't, vertical market, but a lot of people still don't get what do you mean by vertical market, and so the idea is that when you do in terms of search, it's sort of this horizontal search spectrum you go across, right? You're looking for information, news, health. It's the whole thing, whole kit and caboodle. The red, the blue, and the violet. And was it Roy G. Biv? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. There we are, right? Is there another mnemonic way of remembering the colors of the spectrum that anybody wants to share? Okay. And then with a vertical search, you come down the line, and you say, I want to take a vertical slice here, and I'm only going to cover news search that's going on out there. So hence vertical. I don't like the term because it tends to come out of financial markets when it's used in terms of search. I used to call it specialty search or specialized. But anyways, we were using vertical because that's what the investment people say. So it's, to me though, it's like new ways to get into the top results. I mean, it's like Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or I don't know, pick your favorite holiday where you get things. Birthday, right? It's like a birthday for all the search marketers. Today it's vertical search day. Everybody gets in. So it's like all new opportunities. And the beautiful thing is it's like going back to search 1.0, 2.0 to rank for some of these things that Stefan's talked about. So to come back with Google Universal Search, I don't want to be too repetitive, but it's querying automatically their book database, image database, news, video, local web. These were already added. Oh, I should have changed that. They already added them. I got the wrong slide in there. And technically, Google says, well, we're weighting all the relevancy. So if we put a book listing in and we took a web search listing out, it's because we decided that that book listing should be more relevant than the others or something like that. And the point is you just get an opportunity to get in there. So here are some more examples. Search for Santa Clara hotels, and you get the local boxes. You've seen this before, but I can't say enough, emphasize enough, or click through my slides enough for fun. How dramatic this is. This was like me doing a screenshot. I don't know if that was my entire. I don't think that was everything showing on my laptop. I think I did a page, a screenshot, and it clipped a bunch of the page, and I shortened it. I think that's more of what that's what I saw on my screen. This is what was filling up my screen. If you're still thinking to do well on search engines, I need to be #1 in Google, where's #1? Because is #1, why does it do that? Because I don't know what I'm doing. Is #1, damn. Yeah, it just confuses me. Is this #1? Honestly, I mean, how would you say in your guts that's #1? I mean, I would say that's #1 if I'm thinking old school, right? But #1 is probably this up here. #1's not even showing. So you got to know, if this is a query you're trying to show, why are these local businesses showing up? Where's that data coming from? How am I getting into that box? That's where the money action is happening, and Stefan's already covered it. So you've got excellent tips already to get started in terms of the local side. Diet Coke, because that's coincidental, but I do like Diet Coke. I'll even take a drink just to prove it. So over here, here we have the Diet Coke and Mentos thing, which my kids made me do, and then we were really lame and it didn't explode the way it should have done. We're going to rework that. But here, they are automatically putting a video here. They've gotten rid of the actual video clips. This was really awesome. I mean, who would have ever thought 2 years ago you'd be watching video right on the Google search results pages, which they told you would never have animated flashy things, except now they have video. Except now they took it away. And then down here at the bottom, we have news results that are showing up over there in both of those cases. So more mixture, more opportunities. This is what I mean. It's like now, if you've got a video, you have a new opportunity to get into the front page of results to where your web page might not have done it. And if you're doing it right, I mean, you're rocking along, right? If you can get some news search stuff going for yourself, get a little local stuff going, get a little YouTube stuff going. I mean, just, goodbye competition. I'll take over these pages, for a short period of time until they fix something else. So there's the YouTube video that we're coming up. Facebook's awesome. But that's not why I'm showing this screen, and it's not that awesome. Is anybody bored of Facebook at this point? Thank you. You got bored of AOL too, right? Just come back to the web. Web misses you. Where you been? Web's like CompuServe going, hey, come on back. We're not your grandma's web access service. So here we are, you're doing a search for Facebook, Facebook listings coming up there, and then here are news results, because Google decided news results, we got some news, we'll just shove it in here. If you have news content, then you've got a new opportunity to be ranking there as well. Oh, what I love, by the way, just a little side story, Yahoo, because Yahoo would always put their news results at the top, but Google was saying, we are so awesome that we can determine that the news box is 4th in relevancy of everything on the web. So we'll put it 4th as opposed to 6th or 8th or 9th. We don't just shove it at the top or the bottom of the page. That's how awesome we are at Google. Right. So Yahoo decides, well, we're awesome too. So now they just shove their box in at like number 4. I think they just randomize it. Well, we can put the news box in the middle of the page just to be like Google. And I've got a lightning bolt jacket too. All right. So here we are, do a search here, got news results at the top, got image results down here at the bottom, fire going off all over the place, probably in California, because we burned down a lot. Well, it's hot there, and there's not all these clouds and not all this rain going on there. Woo! Anyway, come on, I know, Seattle's nice. It's sunny out there all the time. It is. I've seen it. All right. So here we do a search for Tom Sawyer Detective. Got the book search up at the top results as well. So this is all really, this is a revolution for Google. This really, really was last year. And it's still coming in. And you're still way ahead of the curve if you're understanding this and you're really seriously thinking about it. If you were sitting there thinking, well, let's get my choice. I got an hour. Buy some links. Do some local optimization. If you were local, try the local. Might be a good way to go. Because, Matt Cut's just going to ban you anyway, so you buy the links, so you might as well do the local stuff. And he goes, oh, I'm glad you're supporting the local optimization. It's really good. And we find that Google is really helpful. We'll be doing more Matt Cut's imitations later on this week. Okay. Seriously, he authorized me to speak on his behalf. No, he didn't. But I might anyway. So Live, they started pushing out their kinds of examples. Stefan, again, has gone through these sorts of things here, but you've got health results that are coming up. They're still kind of getting their act together over Microsoft, and they're losing microshare anywhere, so it doesn't matter. But no, but they may come back up. We'll see. And Brittany's cute. She's still cute. You still got her, Brittany, even though you're crazy. They're like mixing in all these celebrity searches that are coming along. They even, you can see if you're a blogger now, you can find out if you're a blogger celebrity. How sick is that? Oh, by the way, I'm like the 36th blogger celebrity. So. That's what you want to be, though. You want to be like above 50, but below 20, so nobody pokes at you and says, what a jerk or something. But you're like, I'm hanging out in the 30s. It's good. I'll be all right with the 40s. If anybody is in the 50s, that's good too. Stefan's probably like number 1. So Yahoo, I said that they had these shortcuts where they're pushing out a lot of the shortcut stuff they do here, events. But this is coming from upcoming, right? So if you had an event that was out there, you're trying to be found, you need to understand what's going on in upcoming. You need to get your events in there. If you're running seminars, you want to be showing there. Notice, I love this. See, I'm doing a search for New York events. And look, oh, that was my social media. So Yahoo obviously rocks at relevancy. And I clearly rock as an optimizer. Yeah, I'd like to say I totally planned that too. If you're going to Paris, have a nice time, get a little information. So where are they getting their hotel, their restaurant guide, flights information? One thing I'll tell you is that Stefan went through and he gave you a lot of examples of here's how to get your stuff into product search, here's how to get your stuff into local search, blog search. The bigger thing I'll tell you as a search marketer, your job is to know these answers, and if you don't know the answers, figure it out. That's what you're good at. That's what makes you different and unique from all the other search marketers out there. Well, how am I doing on time? Where did I go? Where do I have to stop? 15 minutes? Ever. Ever. You just keep on going. I might. Especially because it's towards the afternoon, I'm a bit punchy. Apparently, if I'm a bit punchy, it's a little more entertaining than if it's in the morning and I'm not woken up, which is odd because in the morning I'm not awake, in the afternoon I'm not really awake. I'm just super tired in the afternoon. Anyway, I had to get up early to catch a flight to come down here and up here. See, I'm already that tired. Point is, bringing it back home, making it relevant again somehow. You're going to constantly go into situations as a search marketer where the exact answers aren't known, which is nice job security for you. And the plus is, as a search marketer, you will figure them out. So when you see whatever it is that's coming up, number 1, on whatever it is you're using to search for something, if it's an iPhone app, and you say, oh, look at this. These things are coming up in response to something I did. Then you go back and you start figuring out, where did the data come from? Where did they get their hotel data? Where did the restaurant guide data go? Where did the flights map stuff at? What are the things powering this stuff? Usually it is not rocket science to figure out where that data is coming from. You'll go along, you'll find out that, oh, you know what, Yahoo, clearly they're using Yelp for all their restaurant data. I don't know if they are or not, but I'm just saying, let's say you figure it out. Then you go over to Yelp and you start poking around, you discover that, Yelp has a pretty straightforward submission process, or they have the reviews, so I'll give myself a nice review, get my mother to give a nice review to the restaurant that I own as well, and away I go. That's your job. You figure these things out. And that's, again, the opportunity when it comes to vertical search is, there's so many more opportunities that are out there now for you to influence. Do I have to go already? Am I done? No? Okay. So, baseball stuff? I don't know, baseball. Except Angels are cool, because I get to go to the games now again, because I lived in Britain, which was hell. But, and not offense to you. No offense to you if you're British, by the way. It just really was hell if you live there and you're from Southern California and it was sunny. And even my wife, who's British, will tell you that. So she said we could come back, and that was really good. I've got 2 children that are British. They're nice. Maybe I chose my words wrongly. I do miss Sky. Shopping results. Where are the shopping results coming from? Yahoo Shopping. Do you have a storefront in Yahoo Shopping? Maybe you should be operating a storefront in Yahoo Shopping. Maybe it's that important that you need to run 2 different stores rather than just your online store as well. One new thing that's happening also, it doesn't quite fit in the 3.0, 4.0 thing, but it's another revolutionary thing that's coming along, is the idea of enhanced listings. So this is Yahoo Search Monkey, where they're now giving people the ability to go through and have cooler listings. So here you got a Japanese restaurant. Yelp has come along and said, hey, you know what? People can install our little, actually it's default now. If Yelp has a review about a restaurant, then the listing will change and start showing these sorts of things here, and ratings and addresses and stuff like that. As you see more of these enhancements come along, you may then, as a search marketer, have to start paying more attention to, well, how am I listed over here on Yelp? Because that's impacting how I'm showing up over here. Or Yahoo has been experimenting with making use of, say, Delicious information. How many people have saved your URL through Delicious? And then if you're getting a little report over here saying, well, 20 people have, maybe you need to really focus on getting more people to start saving your web page under Delicious as well, because that has an influence on how you're showing up. I didn't get that other slide in there. Kind of coming along with it on enhanced listings is Google site links. You've seen these are the little 8 links that you may get underneath your result if you're number 1. Or if you're number 61 and you've been subjected to the 60 penalty that doesn't exist unless they discover it's a bug, and then suddenly, oh, I guess it did exist. So if you're at the top of the page and you get those little listings that come underneath yourself, you can't order them. You can't call up and say, I'd like to have the site listings. Could you make it happen for me? But what you can do is get rid of some of them that if they're showing up there. And down the line, you may have more ability to influence them as well. So you're going to want to pay attention. As Microsoft is just starting to experiment now with, I love it, giving Wikipedia longer enhanced listings. Because it wasn't enough that they just get to be the number 1 listing on everything. Now they have to have even better listings, more powerful ones. So the overview, Search 3.0, many more doorways to getting into top results. Web search isn't going away. Not going away. I'm not saying don't worry about web search. Don't worry about, I want to get the ranks and the sitemaps and all the stuff coming up or whatever. It's just, does anybody remember Yahoo before they had a crawler? Anyone? Anybody? Bueller? No. Right. For those of you who don't, you go to Yahoo, you do a search for something, books, and they'd say, well, here's all the listings we have from Yahoo's human crafted directory. You'd get it all, and then sometimes there wasn't a lot. So you'd get like 3 listings, and then it would say, would you like to search the entire web? Like as a backup. We don't really have a lot of stuff that our humans have found. Do you want to go further? Some people would do that. Most people would take whatever came off of the human stuff. The web, searching the entire web was backup. Well, web crawling got better so that you could have the ability to not only search the entire web every single time, but have relevant results coming up. So that backup stuff went away. But I think what's going to happen is web search is going to fall again into being the backup. That in many cases, you're going to do a search and they go, well, you just searched for Santa Clara Hotel, so here's the page of local results. If that doesn't satisfy you, click next and we'll give you the web search results. So you really, really are going to have to beat on the local results. Another example would be, say, do a news search. You search for something, then clearly, if you were to search for Russia, Georgia right now, putting those 2 words, excellent chance you'd really like to get 10 news search results rather than 10 web search results that may not have the most current information. And at some point, I think they're going to flip a switch and they say, we're going to just give you by default news results in some cases. If you want to go across the entire web, then we'll make you go through another hoop to do it. So you're going to want to make sure you're paying attention to verticals because there will be backup. All the web search will still be there. Exactly how these are being presented, whether or not they mix it or they put them off on the side and everything, that's still being developed out. And like I said from earlier on, there's less competition here. There's fewer people paying attention to vertical search, in my opinion. It's more old schoolish. The local, well, I want a better review. Okay, I got 3 people who said I'm a good restaurant. There, I'm done. It just doesn't, that'll change, but it hasn't changed yet. And I really am not suggesting you go and start like faking reviews and everything else that's going along with it. But I will say, if you've got a restaurant and you're competing with 4 other restaurants and not a single one of them have a review and it's your restaurant, I'd review it myself. Of course I would. It's my restaurant. I let the restaurant say who I am and I give myself 5 stars. Nothing wrong with that. Oh, and that's the end of my presentation. Hope you enjoyed it. It's not.
I suspect it's
I've been cut off. It's all done. And then there was silence. The web came to a blue ending.
Sorry about that.
Cute chick from what's that movie? The robot and the bathrobe.
What?
Hang with me, folks. Thank you.
Oh.
And the woman I'm trying to think of, Zoe? No.
Wally?
No. Oh, it's a cartoon. Wally's not a cute chick.
I probably
God. And she sang in the Noel movie with the elf. And she was in Weeds. She was the crazy. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Either the blue reminded me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because, in particular, I like the actress. Because, I'm sorry, she's yeah, right. And then her sister does Bones. And then I didn't really like her sister, but I started watching Bones. And I thought, actually, what's that?
So now you like her sister.
Yeah. Well, she wasn't going to go out with me, so. Anyways. I'm trying to kill some time here. I hope it's all right. Thank you. Oh, we get to slip all this stuff. Stephen already covered all these things, see? And that's why I was so calm, because he did them better than, there's only one thing he didn't do that I'll do. I think there's 2 things he didn't, well, you didn't, did you cover book search? All right, I'll do book search real quick, because you shouldn't ignore it. One thing, book search means that you get to be in Google Book Search. It's free. You have to have an ISBN number. And I think it may be that you can have an ebook get an ISBN number. And if you can do that, then it may mean that you can write your own little ebook on your own little topic that you want to rank well for, submit it to Google Book Search, and then watch the money come in. No. Sydney Harbor Bridge is very pretty. News search, one other thing, I don't think Stefan had this in here. Your URLs have to have 3 digits. Don't have 3 digits. Apparently, you're not a Simpson cartoon, nor a character, nor they have 4 digits, don't they? 4, right? So that's true. You have to have 3. You have to have numbers in the URL. Then they consider you to be newsy or whatever. That's just the way they are. Anal that way. Video search he's already covered. He covered these in far better detail to me, which is why I was so calm. I'm like, keep going, because I don't need that time now. Blog search, though, he did talk about it only includes the content in the feed. So you should put out the full feed. But I will say, with anger and disgust and enragement, and try to encourage you to be enraged as well, when they did this, I went back to Matt Cutts over Google, king of killing things. And I said, you know what, Matt? This pisses me off. Probably didn't say piss, but in similar words, because I don't want to put my full feed out, because then people think, oh, you put your full feed out, I guess I can do whatever the heck I want with it, like scrape you or copy you or whatever. So I don't put a full feed out. I put a summary out. And that means I'm disadvantaged in Google blog search. And I said, this is one of those cases, Matt, where I'm really ticked off and I start thinking, I think I want to cloak my feed to Google. And I'll cloak my full feed to you, and I'm only going to give the summaries out to everybody else, because I just don't think that's fair. And he was like, you know, I wouldn't write that up yet. Hang in there. We're probably going to work on it. And then it never happened. So, and I always remember to get angry about this when I have to start talking about it, and I failed to do so out there. So join with me in saying, Google, you suck, and we should be able to submit to you full feeds, but you should not, you should allow us to do it in a way where we neither have to cloak. Maybe you could do it through one-click free through Google Blog Search. Actually, you probably could at this point. Could you do one-click free? So there we are. So I don't have to be angry anymore. They already gave me the solution. I'm just too dense to realize it. Not for blog search.
For news.
No. One-click free is available to anybody. Anybody. One-click free, it's where you can submit whatever you want to Google, and then their spider will see it and say only registered users will see it, as long as you allow those people to come into your website and not have to register for the first click, i.e. first click free. But that still doesn't work because, no, I'm still angry about it. I'll do a post.
Dan?
Yes?
You don't have to have the 3 digits for Google News.
Really?
If you submit a Google News sitemap.
Oh, good point. That's stupid. But, you know, they are our rulers, so we shall do as they say. Okay. So.
Yes, I will take the Google image.
That wasn't humorous. That was just a statement of fact, but, you know. All right. Stefan didn't cover any of that, so I'm just turning it off. I got like, what, 2 minutes? This is where I'll go I'll be like grand now. I've got 2 minutes, I've got 45 slides, and I'm going to make it all fit. Yeah. So not going to make it fit. I'm probably going to run at least 5 minutes late. I think I'll be all right. So, Search 4.0. I was using that to try to talk about the idea that you'd reshape your search results based on personal information or social information. In particular, you might recall some of you last year, Robert Scoble, who I might say is a hell of a nice guy, because coincidentally, now that sounds like a name dropping, I won't even tell the story. So anyway, he's just a nice guy. But no, I will tell you, because he's really nice, because he takes a lot of shit, right? And then he happened to be down where, because I moved back, so now people could actually come by, and he happened to be in the area, so I said, well, you should come to breakfast or whatever. So I was there, and went to breakfast, and my 2 boys went, and he gave them his iPhone and let them do whatever they wanted with it. I wouldn't even give my kids my iPhone. So, you know, he went up a measure of respect for him. But he was still bullshit on the whole personalized search stuff. Because he came out, he suddenly woke up one morning and said, hey, all this Facebook data, and they know who you are, they could put it with the search data, and it's going to be great. No, he sort of forgot that people have already been trying to do this, and they don't do it. It hasn't worked so far. So reshaping your search results on what you personally do, what others do, what people in aggregate are doing. Google is the only one that's kind of gone to that 4.0 evolution. And by the way, when I say this is the evolution here, I'm talking about this is the evolution I've seen so far. It doesn't mean that that should have been the natural order of things. And in fact, we have had some cases, as you'll see, where we were having personalized search happening in results before we had the vertical stuff happening. But I do think this will be the next big change that we see come along. So with Google personalized search results, you know, they see that I don't go to Wikipedia like the entire world as much, apparently. So they say, you know, we'll move it down because you seem to go to Semple a little bit more, so we'll move them up. And, oh, you seem to like Search Engine Guide, so while the rest of the world gets to see it at number 5, we'll move them to number 4, and we'll make IntelliSure go down because you don't go there. Whack. So they're monitoring what I go to and when I search, what I click on. Indeed, if I've installed the Google toolbar, given them my full and fair permission, they're tracking me across the web and understanding all the porn that I'm looking at and ranking my results for research purposes only. I was, at one point, expert witness for Terry Wells, Playboy Playmate of the Year, 1990. She was being sued by Playboy. Playboy said, you can't call yourself a Playmate because that's our trademark. She said, but it was my title, so I'm going to put it in my meta tags if I want to, and I'm a hell of a lot better looking than you. And all I know is I got a lot of legal fees to say Terry was right. And I just said she was right anyway. So there's another story involving why you never order a big fruity drink with a Playboy Playmate when she's drinking vodka, because she mocks you, but we'll save that for the end. So anyway, so these are the things on Google to pay attention to in terms of how these results are being changed. This is happening like right now, and it's happening like in a big way. So if somebody's enrolled in the service, if they put your content, if they've added you to their Google personalized homepage, then that's an influence in terms of you're going to start ranking better. If somebody's added you to their homepage, your content should start ranking better in Google for that particular person. If they bookmarked your website through the Google Bookmark service, another plus for you. If they've searched for you and they click on you, another plus for you. Although I suspect not so much a plus if they clicked on you and immediately came back and clicked on someone else. So do that to all your competitors. Although the stupid thing is, then that means your competitors don't rank well on your own personalized search results. Who cares? And if they come to your website a lot. So the main way that you can influence this, aside from having kick-ass content and being a great site, is shove the stupid button up there and pray that everybody uses it. Honestly. Here's an example of web search history. I did this last year. I wanted a new phone because the iPhone 3G hadn't come out, so I was still living in the world of Windows Mobile, which I left behind. Like I left behind PCs and went to the Mac, and might as well just worship Steve Jobs now, even though he's an idiot who doesn't understand why phones could have keypads that you could actually type, and it would be fine, but still, all right, you guys rule. I give up. So I searched for, here I'm like going, there's this new phone coming out. I visited a couple sites there, then I said, oh, I've learned from reading these, it's called the HTC Vox, so I searched for it. I liked it so much, I clearly searched for it again twice. I don't know, I just really was into it. 2 minutes later, note the time, could have been punchy. And then, it's always scary when you bring up your own search records too. You're going, what else I searched for? Oh, okay. And then I went to a couple more web pages, and then I searched for U.S. carrier, because I was living in Britain at the time, which is not hell on earth. It just wasn't the place for me. And then I searched for Vox again, because clearly at that point I just decided to see who had ads, and I wanted to go to it. So I feel really bad about what I said about Britain now. Really good. Who's British? Anybody British? Oh, we don't want to. Were you offended? Okay. Whew. All right. So anyway, and now search customization. So they just did this. Now I was just like, oh, I just like thrilled. Woo, thrilled. So now when you do a search, they go call me up when I talk to you about this thing that's going on. We're going to do this thing called search. We're going to tell people when we're customizing their search results without their permission or knowledge. Wow, okay, cool. So like I did this one search and they come along and say, hey, by the way, we customized your search results for San Francisco metro area because we can see you're in San Francisco because we're Google, we know everything. So wait, customized your search for sad git because we know that you count trains. See, so I'm speaking British now. It's for nerd because you're counting nerdy things. They don't do that yet, but they are customizing it based on your geographic location, where you're at. So at some point, I mean, you're going to be in Seattle, you search for zoo, Seattle Zoo comes up. You're in Los Angeles, you search for zoo, San Diego Zoo will come up because it's better than the Los Angeles Zoo anyway. It's going to be tailored to your geography. And it's like, optimization gets a heck of a lot harder. A heck of a lot harder. Your previous query, oh, this is insane. So now what they're doing is you do a search for like a hotel and it comes up and you go, well, okay, maybe I should be a little more specific. So then you like do a search for San Jose and they automatically will say, well, you just searched for hotel, now you're searching for San Jose. Well, I'm going to give you results for San Jose Hotel because we think you're an idiot and you should have just put the two things together in the first place. And they'll tell you that up here that they've done that, or your web history. Hey, now based on the places you've gone to, we're going to personalize your results as well. So they're telling you all this stuff. This has happened. This isn't new. They've been doing this sort of stuff behind the scene, but they're telling the searchers now. And this is the key thing. The reason they're telling the people now is not just because we like to be transparent, we're Google, we love the world, but because they also know people are going to notice it's happening, and so they better bloody well tell you that it's going on because they're going to start doing more of it. And that's the end. They're going to be doing a lot more of it, I suspect. And they know people are going to notice it. It's already annoying. Like, when I would be in Britain, I'd be doing a search. Somebody would say, did you see this result number 4? I'm like, no, I can't see that result number 4 because Google seems to think that when I do a search for football in the UK, all I care about is the football with the little round balls. I don't, by the way, care about American football. It leaves me bored. So I could have done a search for football, and if it came up with baseball results, I would have thought that was relevant. But anyway, they're doing that. So they're already doing that kind of changes. Some people are noticing going to become even more and more dramatic. And so as a search marketer, good luck. I mean, as a search marketer, it just underscores one more time that your probably best survival technique has been the survival technique that has been in place all along, which is exceptional content. I know it sucks, but exceptional content, what tends to get people coming to your website on a regular basis, what tend to have people linking to your website so that you're showing up for one query and then maybe searching for the other. The geographic location's good. You know, the more that you're making yourself locally relevant, there's opportunities there, so that's good. All right, so remember I told you Robert got all excited, and even though he's a nice guy, I thought he kind of lost his mind. What I thought he was forgetting is that other people have been trying to do social searches. If you want to read the whole thing, including my use of the word F word, you can come over here, because I was really upset that day. But still, you know, can't we take all our friends on Facebook, and won't they just put all that together, and won't that be the way Microsoft finally gets 1% market share? So if you haven't heard the term social graph, it's a really ugly word to say, you know, knowing who all your friends are. You know, like social link data or something, your social network. And the idea is, well, what we could do is we could watch what everybody's searching on, and we can monitor the clicks that are going on, say, within Facebook, and maybe it's a little more trusted there because spammers would never come into Facebook, never. And we'll reshape the results on what you and your friends like. And so then the issue is, that sounds great, right, at first, and then you start thinking about it, and it just starts to fall apart in a lot of ways, like your friends. Because I've got like 2,000 friends on Facebook, and they come to my house on a regular basis, hang out. I was really upset a couple months ago, and 400 or 500 of them called me and asked me if I was feeling all right. When my presentation went out, they were there for me. They were rocks. And has it been annoying, the walking around, by the way? Are you all right with that on the camera?
You just step
talking to him. The power?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have battery.
Yeah, it's out of battery.
It's out of battery. So anyway, so I can just pretend that I know what my... Oh, did anybody have the handouts? Because why don't you throw me the handouts around, you could read them, and I'll just keep talking until we come up. Do you mind? You won't know what I'm talking about, though. Oh, wow. Look at that. You jumped ahead. You cheated. I don't have that many slides. So anyway, one of the things, so, you know, who are your true friends, right? And are vampires ever anybody's friend? I don't think so, right? And also, it's like, do you want to share some of your searches with all your friends? Did you want them to know that you searched for that thing? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that some parts of society have yet to open up and understand that, you know, these things happen. Or, so you may not want to share this stuff there, right? Or, you know, another example is your, you know, say you you work in some really kind of conservative company, but you're kind of like not so conservative, and so you've got friends in both places, right? And do you want, like, you know, your stick in the whatever colleagues to be influencing things when you start searching for really hot places to go to or whatever? I don't do any of this stuff, right? I'm looking for babysitter. But then again, I may want my conservative friends to influence my babysitter choice rather than rockin' tattoo parlor, babysitter, and cocaine den. Will you take care of your kids? Yeah, get them high. No. This is just, I'm making all that stuff up. Anyway, most of it. Anyway, so there's problems with this. There's problems with why I don't really expect it's going to go in the way that some people forecast it to happen. I should stop stepping on things down here. And the other thing is, well, maybe they'll work on an aggregate level. Maybe they will kind of look at what just people within the Facebook environment are doing, and maybe that'll be a little more of a trusted environment than the whole web. I don't think so. Anyway, so what do you do with this whole Search 4.0 stuff? Buttons and content and buttons. For the whole what's going on with the social graph and everything, honestly, it's just watch and see. You can bang your head around. It's going to drive you crazy. But I would say that you, as a search marketer, should get to know the social networking sites out there, though. At first, I was like, I don't need to Facebook. I need to use MySpace. I kind of have friends, and I kind of have some contacts in the industry at this point. I'm not really needing to do a whole lot of networking. But then I'm like, now I want to be doing it because I want to understand how they operate, how they work. And some old school SEOs do this. Like I get these hate mail sometimes, polite hate mail, but it's like, I don't understand why you're going on about social media. When I was a kid, we walked 8 miles in the snow. That was our social, right? Whatever. We yelled at each other and then we peed. But seriously, but they're like, well, I don't understand. It's not SEO. It's not SEO. Where's the links? Where do I buy them? How do I tick off Matt cuts with the social media stuff? Well, there are ways, but and it's like, well, link building is not SEO. Link building existed separately and independently from SEO. It was you can ask somebody like Eric Ward. He built his business about link building, not being an SEO. You go out there, you would negotiate with people. I want to have a link because links gave you traffic independently of the search engines. But when the links became much more important to getting your rankings, they effectively became part of SEO for a lot of people. Great, you have the great content or whatever, but those links are very important. So you needed to either learn link building, or you needed to be able to work with somebody who could help you on that. It's the same thing with social media. It does have an impact. Some of the things that it does is build you links, as many people have talked about. Leveraging authority sites, right? Got your brand new website, you're not ranking for anything. Well, I'll tell you what, get your website listed on Dig. Dig ranks for anything, away you go, right? Get yourself a Wikipedia page, now you're coming up over there. Get yourself a Google Knoll page. No, that would never happen. You'll never rank for Knoll because we don't do it that way, but maybe. So you've got sites out there that are these trusted authority domains and pages within them. Many people feel like will have a better shot out of the gate than pages on some other website. So social media sites are one of those kinds of places. I mentioned the idea that Delicious may have an impact on Yahoo results. Here's the actual illustration. See, this is one of the things they were testing. So you do this search, and they're saying 40 people bookmarked this page, and here are your tags. So if there were 10 listings coming up, and one of them has 40 people bookmarked this page, and another one says 1, you probably want to go with the 40. That may have an influence to some people on that. So, and Google Reader could easily do this. The data that Google has now in terms of what people are reading and finding on the web, if somebody's website come up, they could say, this website read by 500,000 people. God help us if they come along with, and this website twittered by 5 million people, right? But then that would be good, because then everybody goes, you see, Twitter did make sense. It wasn't a waste of my time. You suck. So get familiar with some of these things, because I think you're going to want to make more use of them down the line. You'll be ahead of the game. Oh, that's our website. So we write about search a lot. We have some ads. You can click on them if you want. We got a free newsletter. I say this I'll keep it really short, but that's the website. We got news going on all the time. We're different from SEO Moz in that our URL is much longer and doesn't include an O after the E. But aside from that, SEO Moz tends to be a lot heavier on the tactical stuff that's going on there. We have some tactical things that come on with our columnists. We also try to keep you abreast of the industry news that's coming along as well. So we tend to feel they're complementary with each other. And if you're really busy, if anybody's not busy, you can ignore all this because you got time so you can hear me ramble on. But for the rest of you that might be slightly busy, I promise you, if you're trying to keep up in search and you're just feeling overwhelmed, just take our daily newsletter. It comes once a day. It says, here's all the important stuff that happened in search, all categorized nice and neat. And then it makes Barry Schwartz, my news editor, get all giddy and happy, which is nice. If you like the way I talk today, then you could listen to my Searchcast podcast and I sing, which you might not like. I don't sing the whole thing. And then if you just want to sound off on things, we have a forum that you can go to, which is kind of like the SEO Moz forums, except it's far more aggressive and evil.
Do we have forums?
Well, yeah, you do kind of have forums because you have so much discussion that I would tend to feel like you have forums integrated into your content. put it to you another way. If you feel like you're not getting enough discussion in just one place, you can have discussions over here as well. So anyway, we have a discussion area. And if you don't know how to get out of the presentation, you just click, and it takes you right back to the end. There's my secret notes.
All right, so for this last session of the day, we're going to be having kind of all of our panelists from the last couple of days, almost all of our panelists from the last couple of days, up here taking questions. I'm going to be running the laptop from back here. There we go. Oh, yeah, you can see me praying and wishing that this wasn't the weather. Sorry about that. And so for folks who want to ask questions, who have specific site questions, we can pull up your sites. We can pull up tools, we can run things on the demo, and I would urge you, any of the questions you've saved from the last few days, anything that was brought up by Danny's presentation or by Stefan's before that, or any of the questions related to anything from link building to social media, we can try and tackle. And I'm going to be standing in the back projecting, and Seth is going to have this mic for the rest of for some of the folks up here. So we've got 2 mics and 7 people. We're going to find a way to make it work. So go ahead. Yes, I'm going to start back.
Yeah. So I have a large client where we submitted a lot of pages, about 1 million to Google for their sitemap. And we got about 61% of them crawled and indexed at one point. And then the last month or so, we've seen that drop down to about 45% of them. What would be some of the reasons that would drop down? Is it because some of those pages may not have enough links to them, there's not enough link juice going on, and Google figures that out eventually and just kind of drops them down? What are some possibilities there?
Okay, yeah, great question. So basically asking, you submitted the sitemap, you said they indexed about 60%? 61% of the pages. How many pages did you submit via the sitemap?
1.2 million.
1.2 million. Yes. Okay, so a relatively high number.
Yes.
And any of those pages were indexed before you submitted the sitemap?
Oh, that site, our customer site, probably only had, maybe like 10,000 pages indexed before we submitted that sitemap, because their site's particularly set up that you have to do a search to generate the content that you're looking for. So we created a sitemap that had all of the permutations of search parameters that people might use to then find that content and gave that to Google.
Is there a browsable way into that content from the site? So do you have
Yes.
to search? Or?
Submit a search.
Okay.
You have to submit a search?
That sounds like the issue.
Submit their search on their site to generate the content that you might find, which is why Google doesn't index that normally. So we had to create a sitemap that basically had a path URL with parameters in it that then their site could, or Google could then index and crawl and get that same content that a user might get if they submitted a search. And it works well for most of the pages, but as we said, it indexed a bunch and then drops them down again.
Yeah, I think you need to start trying to get basically spiderable navigation into some of those searches if they're going to be valuable, because without that, the search engines don't have a way of crawling them apart from via the sitemap.
So that's our next step, but
Yeah.
I was just curious if there was other reasons why.
I wouldn't, that certainly doesn't surprise me in any sense, right? I mean, I think that should be an expected behavior. Your high value, trusted site, submit a sitemap, get a lot of those pages in, and then Google starts to go, wait a minute, these have no link juice whatsoever, not quite sure the value of the content, going to start having them fall out of the index.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, but I just wanted to see what you guys thought about that.
Are you basing that number of pages indexed on the resulting estimated number that Google gives when you do site colon search?
No, I'm basing that on what's showing in Webmaster Tools and the sitemaps.
Okay.
Results.
Yeah, because the site colon search on Google is just very inaccurate, those estimated number of pages.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. One thing that you could also consider, because as Will said, you really want to provide a good linking structure into the pages. So if it's hard to re-architect the customer site, you could, you could, as I mentioned earlier, you have a proxy layer on top. So you have we have a technology called Gravity Stream that is one of those proxy server technologies. But basically, what you do is you add the alternative linking structure in that way, and you use white hat cloaking on the home page. Matt, are you listening? Hope not. No. you use white hat cloaking, or just add some links into the proxy from the home page, and that gives the proxy would handle all the internal linking structure from there through either tag clouds or category-based navigation and related links, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of the way around the form issue, because that is a pretty bad situation.
Convince them to add this internal linking structure that will help eventually, but they won't roll out with that until like November. So, you know, we just got to.
I don't know that I'd try and cloak necessarily between now and November. You know, I might stay away from that.
Well,
if you can, I mean, if you can get those links on there in 3 months, that's not that bad.
The beauty of using a proxy server, you don't even need to have the white hat cloaking to work in the links to the proxy.
Right.
But if you have links to the proxy from the homepage, you're passing quite a fair amount of juice, and you maximize that by using the white hat cloaking. And if you have really unfriendly URLs for all your category navigation, then you can replace those links with proxy links. So basically what you're doing is what the search engine said is totally fine, taking a really horrible URL and replacing that with a search-friendly URL in a link, right? So removing session IDs, removing superfluous parameters, and so forth and so on. So you make a nice friendly URL there, and that happens to be into the proxy. That is a totally legit way to go. And just don't use the words white hat cloaking when you're talking to Matt, right? And that provides a whole kind of set of links into the proxy that have good context to them. Now there are other solutions that they don't do the, there's SearchDex and Uramigo are two other kind of proxy type solutions as well. And they have different approaches to get links in to their pages, you know, or index sitemap type pages. So, yeah.
Yeah. I have a question about our company's had numerous acquisitions of other companies over time, and so now I kind of have this portfolio of PageRank 6, 7, 8 sites, and we're going to launch a new property. I know there's a lot out there about redirecting one site into a new site that you might be creating, but are there pitfalls or things to know if I'm going to take 3 or 4 of these PageRank 6, 7 sites and then redirect to a brand new site? And our hope is obviously to leverage these other properties that are just kind of language, but they have good PageRank and inbound link profiles in our same vertical for kind of a newer property that's more well-focused from a marketing perspective. And you don't see a lot out there about doing multiple sites at once into a new site.
Yeah, and you certainly can encounter areas of problems when you're redirecting a ton of stuff into it. And I think people have questioned whether the engines pass the full value of domains that have basically been purchased and then redirected to other content. Are you planning on keeping the content from those old domains?
Well, I was thinking initially cloning the content onto the new site, and throw-running everything there, because then it would just be kind of its own little subfolder, and then eventually probably kind of deprecating it out, just so the transition would be maybe a little more smooth.
Yeah, I think during that transition phase, I'd certainly keep the content, but I think our panelists might have some good recommendations as well.
Well, we can bring over the architecture and stuff, and we own sites and content. Some just 3 tracks. Well, I have 3 sites, and I want to do this too. I want one new URL.
Yeah, I'd certainly suggest doing a few things. Number one, I would get all of those domains registered into Webmaster Central, just to make sure that Google knows you own them all. The second thing I do is before you do the redirection, I'd probably verify sitemaps with them, and then when you make that changeover, I'd re-verify those new sitemaps and ping them on the new sitemaps for the single domain that hosts them. I keep the content the same and keep those content architectures the same when you do the move. It's funny, I made a blog post talking about how I had concerns about people redirecting domains that they had purchased, and I got an email from a very active, let's say, gray hattish guy in the industry who everyone probably in this room has heard of, so we won't mention his name, but he emailed and said, like, really, did you see that? Because we've been buying like 20 domains a month and redirecting them, and we've had a really easy time lately. As long as they're good domains, we redirect them in, and we haven't had that problem. So I think the experiences can vary both ways. Does anyone have anything they want to add? No? Yeah?
I had two questions. First of all, first one's kind of for the panel and maybe for Jane as well. In relation to video, online video and social networking, how does live video play into this? Sites like Mogulus or Ustream, which I'm streaming on now.
To be quite honest, I don't have terribly much experience with live video.
Like Rand, if you want to go to the site.
Yeah, what's the site?
It's jeffzilla.com/live.
/live.
You gotta hit the play button.
Are you streaming live now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Boy, that's an odd experience, isn't it?
So there you go. And the other one is Mogulus. I don't have two computers, so I can't be on both. But I know there's a couple services like this, and there's Justin TV and Quick.
So I guess a bunch of my questions would be around how this video format remains after the live event, right? Because you're probably not going to get a whole lot of search traffic to the live event right now.
Exactly.
Even if I search for, let's see.
It might be like Twitter.
At SEO. Oh, yeah, you're not coming up. I don't know. That sucks. That's weird.
I can record this.
So you can record this and then put it into other video formats where it could potentially be optimized. So my question would be, what are the goals? What are the goals of the streaming from an SEO perspective?
That's a good question.
It's just cool.
It's just
It'd be great if you guys were like broadcasting a wedding or something.
not going to happen.
I think it would be more from a social perspective, rather than getting search rankings, tweeting it live on Twitter and getting some traffic that way.
Yeah, and Jane could speak to this as well, but I'd say that, anytime you've got a live event that you can promote via social networks, you can then get value back to the site, right? That's hosting that show, that, the person behind it, whatever it is, yeah.
One other thing that I'm not actually familiar with many of the platforms that you're talking about. I've heard of them, but I don't use them. But I would be looking for ones where you could set up the page ahead of time, so that you can promote it in advance, and you're in control of the title of it and all that kind of stuff, so that you can be talking about it and people are searching ahead of time to find it, and it gets indexed a week before the event, and then on the day they can search for it and they find it, and then it can also, it's the same URL afterwards where you put the upload.
Right, maybe host, before it starts streaming live, host some past videos and talk up the new, and then have live content, and maybe a schedule there within RSS feed.
So I'm looking for those features, and I don't know which ones of the sites you mentioned have them, but I'm sure some of them do.
One of the smartest things that you'll see is this preemptive SEO, and I think that from anyone's perspective, right, preemptive SEO is really, really a smart thing if you're ever launching any kind of product. So let's say that you are a movie studio and you know that you're going to be putting something out, right? A movie out in 9 months or in 2 years. What you don't want is IMDb to be the first one to post about that movie. You want your studio website or the domain that you've built to be the first resource for that, so people can be linking to it for the 2 years in the lead up to it. Otherwise, when the movie comes out, you often find that the official sites rank 4 and 5 instead of 1 and 2. And this happens all the time for new laptops that come out and new products that come out. So certainly that's.
I'll add real quick two quick things. One is I tend to find that most of the Ustream channels are really pointless. Even somebody who's like an industry guru, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying that even the industry digerati like Chris Perillo, I go to his live.perillo.com, I think is his URL, and watch his Ustream, and he's sitting at his computer just staring at the screen. Right. It's like, or he's washing dishes talking to his wife, and I'm like, I just totally don't want to watch this, right? And there's a
Gnome Dex is tomorrow, and you're dissing it all, right?
No, he's got a really, he's great, but I'm really bored when I watch his channel, when I just randomly happen to go check it out. So it really has to be focused around certain events or certain high value type opportunities. And there are times when Chris has really awesome content, and most of the time that I go there, it's not. It's like, okay, it's during Gnome Dex and he's actually videoing it. Wow, I can't make it, so I get to watch what's going on stage. That's very cool. Or you can download the podcast because he takes those recorded pieces. But I think you need a shtick or something to go along with it to make it really viral. Like the Mentos Intern. Have you guys heard of the Mentos Intern? Anyone? Yeah. And that's awesome. I mean, what a brilliant idea for Perfetti Van Mel to take some very entertaining guy, just some young college student, and have him live all day during the day. His job was to be the Mentos intern and just be in front of the computer with the live streaming video. And there were people hanging out in the chat room and asking him questions and heckling them and sharing war stories and stuff. It was really funny. And so that went viral. It was really a successful use of live streaming. But in most cases, I'm just not that interested.
So live streaming?
Yeah.
Like Justin moving up?
Yeah.
I might have missed it, but I don't think at any point in the 2 days linking out was really discussed. Did I miss a blog post saying it's completely useless, or
Linking out?
yeah? Does it help you to link out to folks? I know it's debated, but I'm wondering what the panel's opinion is.
I did write a post about it, but I'd love to hear, what does the panel think about linking out?
Well, so I had suggested that you want to be careful when you're linking out, and I mean, you got to think about it as an endorsement of who you're endorsing. But I mean, I think Rand's post goes into pretty deep detail about it's not a bad thing to link out. It's not like you're yeah. So it's not. I've never heard about it ever hurting you if you're linking out to valuable resources. Helping your users, right? That seems like a good thing to do.
I mean, I think the idealistic SEO structure is perhaps potentially the Wikipedia. And I think that's a good example of lots of links coming in, all the fundamentals of SEO, and then good links going out, whether they're followed or not followed. So I think linking out to authoritative, relevant sources is instrumental to being a hub site on the internet.
I agree that who you link out to kind of helps set your link neighborhood and what topic of interest that you sit under. I would try to avoid being too selfish in your linking. I think Wikipedia is a great example of being greedy. They just hoard all their link juice for themselves, and I don't like that approach. I think you should just be, it's karma. You get what you get, and so when you don't link out to anybody else, people are going to be less apt to link to you, and they're just going to not see you as a very friendly participant in the blogosphere.
And there's evidence to back this up. This was not a very scientific study, but they looked at all of the news organizations. This is SEO Co. And they looked at all of these news organizations and said which ones link out versus which ones refuse to link out or link out only with no follow. And they found, right, down here at the bottom, I think there's a lot of them, right? The idea is that in general, there is a strong relationship between news websites linking out and getting links in return.
Yeah.
I think this...
On the other hand, they send me mail.
Yeah, they are judging sites of marginal news quality. But I think you can certainly see that there might be some... You got a question right there?
Yeah. So I've heard that besides using base level keywords like chair, table, things like that, the algorithm would also take into account how you're using the categories of those keywords. So furniture, floor coverings, things like that, and whether or not they're listed versus used in sentences or in text or something like this. Have you heard of any of that, Danny? Or
which algorithm? Google?
Yeah. Well, Yahoo actually was the one that was mentioned when when I heard it.
Was this recently?
Actually,
It was from Donna
From where?
It was from an IA convention for Donna Maurer Spencer and linguistics and things like that.
So Google has had stemming.
It's Yahoo.
I'm going to go through where I know. I'm going to start with Google. They had stemming for some time, so run matches runs, running, that sort of thing. Recently, they did a blog post where they suggested that they were going well beyond that and that they were doing conceptual searching, which was the first time I'd ever seen them suggest that a search for run might pick up a search for jog or something like that. And I actually have it on my to-do list to go back and say, so what's up with that? And when did you start doing it? And they may have been doing it for some time, and I tend to think they are doing it now. It was just interesting they did that post. It seemed to come in reaction to everybody going, well, Microsoft bought PowerSet, and they're going to be the best thing since sliced bread. So Google tends to, a couple weeks later, come on and say, yeah, well, we kind of been doing that already anyway. So, you know,
Oh yeah.
we have humans too, or they right? They do that sort of post, so like they won't tell you what they're doing until suddenly somebody else seems to be doing it, and they think we don't want people to think we're weak. So yeah, we have a billion URLs. Yeah. So I think they probably are doing conceptual matching. I'd actually not heard that Yahoo was doing that. I think Yahoo may have stemming, but I don't even remember them mentioning it. So maybe somebody else may have looked at it. It's been a while since I've actually tried to run a test on it. I'd be surprised if they were doing conceptual matching. And I don't think Microsoft is doing anything like that. I think they're still...
I think
That's
maybe
smart.
Nick, would you be able to...
I think that's smart idea.
What's that?
Well, I never actually worked at a search engine, so I can't actually speak at this. And I'm not an SEO, so I don't have a ton of experience with this. But on the other hand, if you write good content that's about jogging and other people link to it, and they might link to it with running, that says run, right? So I think less about what the algorithm is going to do, maybe more about what people are going to do when they're reading it and thinking about it and linking to it and talking about it and all of these things, right? And moreover, it's likely that if you're writing a post about jogging, the word running will show up somewhere in that post also, right? So I think all of those things are going to help you.
One of the little data points I'd into that is we see them definitely understanding different spellings. If you search on the US spelling, if you search on the UK spelling, so they are doing some kind of, they do understand the relationship between some words. Yeah, even beyond just STEM.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I see this all the time, and I wrote a blog post about this a little while back called the Search Engine Semantic Analysis Capabilities, right? And it's relatively simplistic, right? But Google can anyone who's got a crawl of the web can look at documents on the web and find connections between words very simplistically. And I think that there was an old search engine watch thread started by Dr. Adel Garcia, who's an IR researcher. I think he's now based in California. And he talked about this, which is this principle of co-occurrence. If you're fascinated by IR and you just love this idea, you can see right there, right? So Spain, look at that. Spain, right, has this many results, and Iberia has that many results, and together, Spain and Iberia together have this many results, and so you can calculate a co-occurrence, but of course these numbers are not that great, but the co-occurrence might be relatively high, so you might think to yourself, oh, well at least I know that Spain and Iberia might mean the same things, or are often found frequently together. And you might say from the co-occurrence, oh, Spain appears less connected to Iberia than Iberia is connected to Spain, right? And this might prove true across the web. So I think it's a simple thing for engines to do, and it pays dividends for them to do it. Certainly when you look at something like, I think T-shirts is a good example where they've clearly figured out that T-shirts and T-shirts are the same thing, right? And they know this about tons of other things. Does anyone have a good example of one of those that comes up right away? Sorry?
A-Rod. Timeshare.
Yeah, excellent. Right? A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez.
And if you notice there, they highlight the stuff that says A-Rod, and they also highlight the stuff that says Alex Rodriguez. So there's at least some kind of co-occurrence stuff going on, or I don't want to say co-occurrence, but
semantic analysis.
There's some kind of analysis that goes on. It may just be in the front end, but that they highlight these things. But on the other hand, they did do it, right? So you can use your judgment.
Do you think that's localized? That's like an American baseball term?
So certainly you could...
Searching code at UK.
I'm pretty sure that works as well. I seem to remember somebody talking about that example.
Let's try.
Even though it would mean nothing colloquially to most Brits.
Ta-da! So pretty smart.
If you go to France, it doesn't work.
Sorry? Do you want pages from the UK?
Go to France.
Go to France?
Well, it doesn't necessarily.
Yeah, I think that might mean something else in French. Is Guillaume here? He would know. All right. Yeah, I think there's a question in the far back.
This goes back to your post last week, Will, on how to grow your SEO firm. Great post, by the way. I figured since all of you are up there, I'd like to get more perspectives on how you talk with customers who don't necessarily get it and all the intricacies, and how you have elevator conversations or examples that resonate. Just some things that work for you.
So I've already given away most of my secrets. The one thing that I think... the one thing I'm just going to talk loudly. The one thing that I'd add since I wrote that post, one thing we've been talking a lot about is trying to categorize our prospects, and even, I guess, customers to some degree, into people who get it and people who don't get it, and trying to work with the ones who get it. It is a more enjoyable experience for everyone, I think, and more successful. So but yeah, I gave the rest of my secrets away in the post, so I don't know what anybody else has.
So have a quiz. Okay, you did it. You qualified.
Yeah.
That's right. I think Stefan and Seth, you guys should both be forced to answer this as well.
The ones who don't get it, have them sign up for the SEO Moz expert session. But I agree. Get more leads, and and maybe have what we do is when we reject people who apply to use our service, we have like a mentorship program where we send like an email which has a whole bunch of places where here's things that you can get, where you can go do to find best practices, and a lot that you should go read, and things that you should catch up on. And have that build a lot of goodwill, and people will come back a year like, hey, I did all those things, now I'm back, now can you work with me? And you're like, you have a lot of affinity towards you.
Steph, do you want to use this for my concern?
Okay. Thanks. So what works pretty well is in one of the first conversations that I'll have with a prospect is to just let them know, hey, by the way, our minimum, for consulting, if you want to hire us for SEO consulting gig, is $15K a month, 6-month minimum, and that causes a lot of folks to go away right then and there. So then you don't have to find out if they need any education or not, because it's like, ooh, wow, can you recommend anybody? So if you guys do smaller engagements and you want me to recommend you, let me know. I've actually written posts to that regard on my blog. Like, here's some folks I think very highly who take on the smaller engagements, and yeah. Anyways, so that's one kind of weeding out factor. Another one would be to find out, just in a quick review of their site, if they're doing any spam tactics, and we get a few of those coming through, and we say, no, won't work with you because there's some spam on your site. And we've had a rare occasion where they said, oh, I have no idea that this was even going on, and I'll promise to fix it if you'll hire us and or if we can work with you and you tell us what to fix. And so we've taken on a very small number of those sorts of engagements. But it just kind of, for those folks that make it through those two filters and who need a lot of education, then we oftentimes sell them Gravity Stream as our solution so that we can actually go in and fix the stuff without having to to educate them, right? Because we can do the stuff, fix the title tags, and add intro copy and change the internal link construction. We're not doing it on their native site, and we don't have to spend months trying to educate them. I remember one case very vividly with a client that's a large department store chain that starts with a K and has an apostrophe, and it was very frustrating because every step of the way they pushed back, and it was just they just didn't get it. There's a category called kitchen electrics, and nobody searches for kitchen electrics in Google, and trying to convince them of that was like beating my head against the wall. And so, and in the end, they didn't change it. It still says kitchen electrics on the category page.
There is a big opportunity though for mid to small search shops to make partnerships with some of the larger shops to get a lot of those leads that don't make the $15,000 cut. And I think a lot of folks are just a lot of these agencies are just not responding or just saying no when they can be referring those places to good, credible, mid-market or SMB search shops.
And just the final thing for me is for the smaller guys especially, that if they don't quite get it to the same extent, we haven't done very much. We've never tried the proxy thing. Sounds interesting, but for the smaller guys, try and have as much control over the site as you can. Because if you can make the changes, then you can show them the benefits. Whereas if you're just saying, you know what, you should do this stuff, and they don't really get it, they still think you haven't really done anything, go and write a document. And then you're in the kind of worst position. That and getting them data-driven. So getting them looking at the right things rather than checking their rankings every day.
Tony, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, actually not to add. It's kind of a segue into this. I was going to ask, this kind of goes to some of the people that, not in this room obviously, but that are touting SEO services that may not be up to snuff and ruining the reputation of the entire industry. I was going to ask Danny and Rand and everybody else on the panel, what do you guys think about certifications or best practices going forward? If there's even a way to do that, or if you think that should be something that Simpo or SEO Moz or someone else should look into doing?
I'm so tired. So, to me, the whole debate tends to fall into two areas. First of all, there's the people who feel like we should have certification, we should have best standards. That means you do only white hat things, you never do black hat things or gray hat things. And then you have the people who say, you know what, black hat, white hat, who cares whether it's a good hat? It's an issue is did you deliver the value or not? You have some black hats who get very, very irritated that some white hat may be saying, I'm going to optimize your meta tag and charge you $200,000 and they do nothing. You know, that there's no real value delivered, they don't come up with it. Or I'm going to charge you for a ranking update, and here that's $300,000 a month. And you know, they feel like that is more deceptive than, oh, by the way, I had to, cloak your content even though it was pretty much on target because I just didn't want to bother figuring out how to deal with the flash or whatever. Right? They think there's nothing different there. So I think the first stumbling block you run into is trying to get anybody to decide which of those things can be separated. At this point, I would rather see if there's an effort that the effort goes towards trying to get rid of the snake oil aspect rather than trying to go over are you following the search engine practices or not? Because while I love any of the people at the search engines and they all like to talk about their practices and they're all the same, they're not all the same. And to this date, I can still go over to Microsoft and Yahoo and ask them what their policy is on paid links, and they will not tell me paid links are bad. They'll go, well, we don't really. They'll say we don't really necessarily like them, but if it was everything like maybe links might be right. And I've seen that time and time again. Google will go and paid links are the devil's spawn, and you should die, right? And then some things will still get by, and Google allows it anyway because you're still good, so we're not going to beat me for that. So you can go down that line, but I think it's really hard on search engine standards. It's not to say I think you should go off and do black hat or whatever you want. It's just that when the search engines themselves don't have problems agreeing, it's hard for them in the industry to decide, well, now we're going to agree for you. But in terms of, could we come up with some certification, some standards to do that? That would be great, but again, you've got some people who go, Stefan said that we don't want to take a company for less than $15,000, so we'll refer it to somebody else. Now, it's not that the person that he's going to refer to is necessarily worse than the work that Stefan's going to do. It's just that they're at a different level, or they deal with a different client, or they do different client management, or they don't have the reputation to command that kind of a fee that gives the client reassurance. But then some of those people will say, well, you're charging $15,000 for the work that I'm doing for $500 a month. You're ripping people off at whatever the multiple is. So then does he do the standard or not? So then it falls apart again. What I think, when I go back to when we looked at this before, is there's probably two different things I'd like to see. One was the ability for searching for SEO companies to voluntarily self-report themselves, perhaps something like Sempo, and say if you have a problem with the company says, we will be public and audit what's happened with our clients. If David has a complaint, they can file it against us. And then in some way you may be certified that you allow for open complaints against you. Then if somebody actually files a complaint against you, you have the right to respond to it. And then, as I suspect, some firms may decide, you know what, I don't want to respond, I don't want to play with this anymore, fine. But then you lose your seal or whatever that says you're going to be part of this voluntary thing, and maybe some people won't want to use you as much. And the other, and I guess part of that may then follow through in terms of some of the things we've had, a few Better Business Bureau reports or whatever. There's a hallmark case here. I'll end on this. Washington State has a hallmark case on this where you had an SEO firm just dinged up and down in terms of the services that they were not delivering. Had an injunction or finding against them filed in 2004. Who's the firm? Anybody remember? It's like
Danny.
Oh, thank you. Right. And then they still. And in 2007, they get another lawsuit filed against them by the state of Washington again, saying, well, now you can't do this. And why don't you just bring them to, whatever. So I tend to be more, if you really wanted to make it happen, sure. Go tell Sempo that they ought to launch some kind of voluntary system and figure out a way that people can opt in and opt out of their choice, but still has some value that if you are opted in, you can carry some kind of a logo or some kind of statement or whatever that kind of comes with it. That's the most optimistic I can be about it.
Can I ask a question of the audience real quick, which would be, how many of you would like, either as an individual SEO working in-house or for an agency, or as the owner of a company or an agency or a consulting firm, to have a certification program, something that says, yes? That's about half of you. And how many folks would say, I'd really prefer not to? Really prefer not to. Okay.
And how many of you who prefer not to, not only would you prefer not to be certified, but you'd be upset if there was a certification program, and you might think that you have pressure that you don't want to be in it, but now you have to or something. Anybody like that? Okay.
I think proficiency would be different than certification.
Absolutely. I think.
That's perfect.
What's that?
Proficiency.
Yeah.
I think that there's a very big issue here in the search marketing world, right? And as it becomes more of a professional field rather than a group of kind of webmasters and hackers like it was in maybe the late 90s or so, right? There's a call out for, well, should we be under something like guidelines for marketers, right? And the Direct Marketing Association has their things, or should we be under our own thing? Should we be under something for web designers and web builders and people who work on websites? My general position has been to stay away from the issue, but I think it's fascinating.
The snake oil guys will be the first guys to get certified.
Who's that?
The snake oil SEO companies will be the first ones to get certified, and they know search. It's not that they don't know search. It's just that they can go and bring in 10 deals and only deliver on one, and you pay them all up front. So I mean that's the challenge, and that's a big. It's a prevalent issue in search, and it's in all business. So I think it's about getting referenceable customers and being super transparent about that. And when we first started our business, part of a condition of working with us was that we needed you to be referenceable. So we didn't charge them a lot of money, but we said, well, we need you to be referenceable to the media, to other customers who want to use your logo, and that's in lieu of fees. And that was how we built our business.
Well, what do you end up saying to people that come to you when they're referencing other SEO firms and you know that they're doing snake oil? I had a guy tell me last Saturday, he says, I only do Black Hat. And he didn't want to talk about anything but Black Hat, but he's representing himself as search engine optimization.
Well, I guess technically he's doing search engine optimization,
yeah.
But I think that it can certainly pay to have some good references, right? So case studies are one of the very best ways that we've been able to do things. People come to us today and we say, well, do you see a lot of listings in the search results for something like Yelp, right? And we worked with those folks, right? And do you see a lot of listings in the search results for something like NPR, right? And we work with those folks, or Inc.com or Fast Company. I think those things help quite a bit, right? And you can do that on a super niche level. You can say, well, hey, do you ever check out, walking shoes for the medical profession? Here's like 10 top popular search phrases. You can see that they're very popular. Here we are optimizing for our clients, and we've done a very good job. When we started our business, and this goes to both of the questions that were asked, we charged almost nothing. I mean, it was like me and my mom, right? And the two of us together, charged virtually nothing and did, some optimization literally for a little shoe website and a small financial services company in Seattle that was also a startup. But we had some success, right? And we were able to port that into visibility and to show, hey, look, we were able to have these successes. So I think that's the kind of case where you then say, all right, Mr. Black Hat guy, let's see your clients.
Right.
Show them to the people, right? And if he wants to show off his clients, I think he's probably going to say, well, maybe I'd actually prefer to keep that quiet, right? So,
well, that's what makes sense. When she said proficiency, that does make more sense instead of certification.
I think case studies are a fantastic way to go outside of an organizational structure for showing off proficiency.
But the problem with you gave some examples of some really great clients, and I could name some great clients too, like Super Pages and CNET, and they're doing it awesome. And there's another company client begins with a Y and ends with an exclamation point, and then everybody, ooh, wow, cool. But can I say I was responsible for them being #1 in Google for personals? Well, in that case, I could, but not. How do you prove it? How do you prove it? I could just claim all sorts of credit for the fact that they rock in Google, and I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I just wrote some report and said, you guys rock. It's like, okay, well, I didn't actually add any value, but I could just claim it.
There are companies that do that too. I think that a savvy customer has to be able to judge what's going on there, but certainly when you have reputable clients who've had success and you can show those case studies, it helps out. Certainly, Stefan, if your client had, here was our traffic before we worked with Stefan, here was our traffic after we worked with Stefan, that might be a really good judge of.
Yeah, but I've had people pitch for sessions, and I kid you not, I had 3 different people all tell me that they worked for the same client, and I was like, all right, well, which one of you did it, right? Well, I did it for Dell, I did it for Dell, I did it for Dell, and Dell had a lot of divisions, so were all doing different things, or some of them had such a tangential connection, it was sort of a joke.
If the clients aren't referenceable, then that's right there. If they say, oh well, it's just like we're not going to share your confidentiality, then we're not. I mean, if they say everyone's confidential, then that's probably going to share. Every good company in America or doing marketing and advertising should have referenceable customers, or if not, they should say, hey, we're just starting out, we don't. But that's why I'm going to do it for free, and you're going to be my first reference.
Can I go back to how do you, to rephrase again, how you would like to have some kind of certification that demonstrates you have a knowledge of SEO and you know what you're doing? And how many of you want some certification that says, no, I'm not going to rip you off? Right, so it's more, those certifications that you know what you're doing are out there. You can do the Senpo course.
Yes, the quiz on the SEO side. Before people
I see you waving. I'll ask Rand because he's technically got a call. You can just shout at him. Well, let me just say, but the other things you can do the certification. You know what? If you want to do that certification and get it, it's fine. But to me, one of the things I've done occasionally is because I don't do actually SEO, I have people come in, sometimes they'll say, can you tell me about these 3 different SEO firms, which one should I be choosing from? So if I were asked, should you go with this SEO firm because they have a certification, to me that's like saying you have a high school diploma. Great, I'm glad you went to high school. I don't know that you should be running the company. You've got the basic, or you've got your driver's license. Okay, I'm glad you can drive the car, but I don't know that you're going to crash it because you've only been driving for a month, right? Certification to me means you've done basic stuff. You can pass all the tests, but really, from a client perspective, that's going to make you a success is that you can demonstrate that you're not just certified, but you deliver value in some way. And there's no third-party thing, I think, that can do that for you. I think it comes back to, you have to do the case studies or whatever. Brandon, if you don't call that man in the back, please do.
Oh, no, I'm good. Sorry, so I think we should take a few more questions because you can see it's still raining outside. So sorry, yes, way in the back.
Yeah, we're going to take questions from Brian.
You go first. What I wanted to talk about was the semantics. I didn't hear anyone talk about semantic very much at the conference, and I thought that would be some of the things that we're going to be influencing search engines in the future, but perhaps I'm wrong. So the whole idea of semantic indexing, or they're using it in order to, you touched on it when you were talking with, we're thinking about Spain, but I didn't hear anything about it, and I just wondered if maybe I imagined all this.
Well, I think, so we just had a question on this topic, and I would say that I might check out this post, and I'd say you can email me or any of the panelists for a little more information, but since we covered it, I'd love to kind of move on to something else that someone else has got, and I apologize. I know it's important. Yes, way in the back there.
Mobile phones, sorry you gave it short shrift. Right now, on the number of sites that we run, SEO traffic represents about 20% of total traffic coming in from SEO. It's major.
You should clarify your geographic location.
Yes, Japan.
Yes.
Well, what's happening in Japan right now, and this is actually my question for Dan Sullivan, and the reason is because Google right now is announcing in Japan that they're running a large number of tests on their search engine for mobile phones. And since Japan has got one of the largest user bases, and also basically they sleep with the things, have you heard anything about the use of Google search on mobile phones and what they expect from that around the world?
The most significant thing I've heard on Google in terms of mobile search was that when the iPhone launched, they saw significant spikes. And that, to me, comes back to what Rand had said earlier and what other people have said, which is it's not really a case that the mobile content is going to grow, and so that'll make it popular. So look at the mobile content, is that the devices will catch up so that the desktop experience is very similar to the mobile experience, which is what the iPhone does. I can go to my website easily on a 3G iPhone, and I don't really have to worry about how it looks. And in fact, I was a long-time Windows Mobile user, and as soon as my wife got an iPhone, I said, I'm chucking mine away. Because it just didn't compare. It was such a better experience to go surf the web on that small device because it wasn't having to re-render or do anything. It just looked the same. So now I know Japan's a different space, and I know that there's a lot more penetration of phones that are there. There's a lot more usage of there. So it may be, it may be something different will happen. That in Japan, it may be that you really will have to continue on going and building out separate websites and building out separate mobile content. And that may be the case for other countries, because we see that in some cases. For example, Korea, it's not Google that's dominant, and it's human-powered results off the native search engine that happens there. But I suspect in a lot of industrialized countries where you have 3G networks, it's going to be a case of, now you don't really have to worry about having mobile content. You just, maybe you want to start looking at how, obviously you want to always look at what the most popular devices are that are being used. The iPhone is continuing to rise, so you want to look at that sort of thing. But I think it's going to be an all-in-one solution more than you have to come up with running two different types of things.
And how long do you think it's going to take to get there? Now, I know that iPhone is very large in the United States right now, but one thing is RFID and payment system, and that's a big usage that Japanese companies have with their mobile phones. There's some really cool things that you can do. I don't know if you know QR codes and things like that. Now, iPhone, wonderful, beautiful, but really a lot of things that are on the iPhone have already been in Japan for 4 or 5 years on various models. But what you just said, where there's going to be, the iPhone or the mobile phone becomes a window to everything that the PC is a window to. How long do you think that's going to take?
In 3-4 years?
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, probably. I agree with that.
I think from a what you should be doing point of view, I think it just kind of gives even more reasons to make sure that you've got a decent site architecture. All of the pages have all of the right information, and you've separated the kind of code and the content so that you can show different things to different browsers via CSS if you want, and all that sort of stuff. So you're getting the semantic information. I think everything is converging so that in 3-4, the iPhone has meant that that's probably coming a lot quicker. But in however many years, the mobile phone is just going to be a small device for searching the web, just like a browser is. They're getting so powerful so quick that personally, I think the mobile search in the old-fashioned kind of 6 months ago viewpoint of it has kind of passed and is on a dying trend, personally.
So I think we're just going to take maybe a couple more questions, and then we're going to head over. So way in the back.
Have you guys entered into any long-term pay-for-performance type agreements, or do you stay away from those? And can you maybe talk a little about that? We're starting to get approached with those types of deals, and just was curious what you guys have done.
We have no large clients on anything like that at the moment. I can talk a bit more about that, but let's see if anybody else has it.
Some of our largest clients are on pay for performance, and it's through our Gravity Stream pricing model, which is on a cost per click basis. So
we've done it a few times. I think 4 times total, 3 times successfully. No, 5 times total, 3 times successfully. There's some critical components there. One is to make sure that you have an incredible level of personal trust and a great personal relationship between the 2 companies and between the people behind the 2 companies. This is not something where when you sell it over the phone, it's going to be effective, in my opinion. We did have an experience early on where we worked with a company, we got them great rankings, and they said, you got to turn off the traffic. We're a small company, we can't handle this level of sales. So this is an experience you really can have, and when you hit up against that barrier, you might think to yourself, oh my God, I was predicting I'd make 6 or 7 grand from this, and I put tons of effort into it, every month, and now they're cutting me off at 2 or 3 grand and basically saying we can't handle any more. So that can be a significant problem. I don't know if you want to add something.
Definitely echo the trust side of things, and comes back to the good and bad clients we were talking about earlier. And actually, we have one kind of thing like that, but it's actually an equity stake rather than a pay-per-click or pay-per-lead or anything like that. So obviously, huge personal trust.
Yeah.
So this is more about some of the client experiences that you guys have had in regards to working with development teams that weren't necessarily, when you're making an optimization or you're trying to make recommendations, you're not doing it yourself, you're actually having to work through a different team. We run into issues where we make a recommendation and it would be implemented 2 months out. So we've had some difficulties with that. So I guess my question is, I'm just curious to hear some of your experiences as to how you dealt with that. I've heard the proxy idea, and it's really fascinating and something that we're definitely going to take a look at. But just curious as to, with working with the different clients and having to work through all of that.
One of the things that we do very, very consistently is the first time we work with a company, we sit down and we kind of say, do you have an SEO department or an internal SEO person? Because we love working with companies that do have that already in place. Someone who can manage that relationship and make sure that when developers put out code or create things that didn't meet the guidelines, they can autocorrect and they can internally fix those things ahead of time. I love that practice. We just did some charity work with Seattle Children's Hospital, and the first thing we said was, we'd love to work with you. The first thing we're going to help you with is to hire an SEO. And then after that, we're going to work with that person to kind of get all the SEO best practices in place and the recommendations and those kind of things. So that's my personal favorite model.
Yeah, all of that, and it is a problem. I don't think it's that there is when you have to work with other development teams, it's always going to be a problem. And if they knew exactly how to do it all, they probably wouldn't be calling on you in the first place. And so you try and give them as good guidelines as you can. You try and make sure that you're getting paid either way. You try and make sure that you get to see it in the development environment. Make sure you're part of the sign-off process. Make sure your client wants you to be part of the sign-off process, and make sure your client isn't paying the developer unless they do what you tell them to do as well.
Yeah, right in the front row.
Oh, sorry. Could I add
more? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So different levels of control give you more comfort level. So, for example, we've had engagements where we had root level access into the client servers, and then I felt very comfortable that we would make things happen for them. There are cases where they opened up a pinhole on their firewall and gave us access to upload stuff to the development server, and then they would handle, once we checked it into the SVN, then they would push it live. And that's again, we're very comfortable with that. Cases where it's like, no, you have no ability to make anything change on the website, and if we have money on the line based on like performance criteria, then it's like we have been so burned by that, right? There was an occasion where it was coming on the holiday season really quick, and we were relying on them to make some changes, and we had lots of money at stake. It was a big performance bonus, and we knew we were going to hit it, and they were like 2 weeks late to make the change. It was almost like, I think it was actually well into the holiday season, like around Thanksgiving, and they screwed it up. The guy who programmed the change in screwed it up, and then the session ID still showed up in the URL, and it's like, oh my god. And by the time they fixed it, it was like second week in December, and we didn't make the bonus, and it was their fault, and they still didn't pay us. And that was the last time we ever took a performance-based engagement where we had no control.
Maybe take 2 more questions, but go ahead, yes.
My question concerns the term neighborhood. I was wondering, let's say I have a game site and I receive links from sites that are totally irrelevant. Let's say it's health. If you set links, probably this question is best for a conductor. What are the factors and what are the priorities on the term neighborhood? Do you look at for example, do you look at the stuff that's left and right from the anchor text, or is it general domain, general belonging, or what is it exactly?
So on the first part, it sounded like you were concerned about people linking to you who are not relevant to you.
Yeah, or
I wouldn't, and others might disagree, but I wouldn't be too concerned about who's linking to you. You can't control that, and I think search engines are fairly smart about saying, well, this guy might link to you, but it doesn't mean you wanted him to link to you. So I wouldn't spend too much time researching that and looking into that. In terms of evaluating a neighborhood for where you want to place, your, where you want to, ideal places to have your link, you want to look on who else is going to be there. Are the other companies in that area relevant? Are they in your space? Are they good companies? You want to look at the backlinks of the publishers that you're looking at. You want to look at the backlinks of the other folks in your neighborhoods, and you can go very many layers deep if you really care. You can look at the backlinks of the site that you're looking at, and that's what I would consider, your neighborhood in terms of where your site is on a particular site.
What's next to the anchor text, for example, doesn't really matter.
Well, it certainly can be used.
Yeah. Well, if the content is relevant, you want to be on relevant content. So if you have a link that says an anchor text for flowers, and the content is talking about cheese, well, that's not really relevant. So it's all predicated on being on something that's a relevant page and that you're near relevant content. And the more relevant it is, the better it is. And you can go back to some of the things that I talked about earlier, which is going to the source code, searching for the keywords, seeing how frequent they are, looking at see if the publisher actually ranks for the page that you want to put your anchor text on, and all those different things.
Nick, could I redirect that to you real quick and just ask, have you seen neighborhood analysis in link analysis?
Yeah, there's actually related to spam, but not exactly. But in the research, there's tons of research about relevant links and how do you weight the links and things like that. And I've actually talked to a search engineer who suggested, sort of peripherally, that if you've got a link from a page that's totally unrelated to yours, it doesn't help you as much as a link that is related to yours. And I think that you can think about what are your users going to be thinking, right? I mean, are you going to get a ton of traffic from a totally unrelated site if the link is unrelated to your content or the link is related to your content, but the link is unrelated to the page it's on? So, I mean, there's a lot of research into discounting these things, and I think it doesn't make any sense from a human perspective either. So.
All right, let's go to the last question, and then we'll do it. So raise your hand up really tippy high if you're like crazy. Okay, all right. Well,
okay, for a well-optimized site, what traffic should we expect from search engines compared to the market share stats? Because for our site, we get 1/9 as much traffic from Yahoo as from Google, and 1/27 as much traffic from Live as from Google. We actually get more from AOL.
US?
In the US? A lot of it's US, but there is also some from Australia and the UK.
Danny, do you have the latest
It's pretty
stats?
if you go to the site and
Am I looking at the top?
Yeah,
here?
you're correct. You hit the Morelands thing. Navigation's going to change to be better down the line, but then come down to stats, scroll down. I should make that bigger, say stats, and then go to popularity. See, it's so easy. And then go to the comp score. That one's fine. There, see, so this is so this drives people crazy, right? So Google's up there at 60%. Does anybody get more than 60% of their search traffic from Google? Right? And there's a great post that Rich Scranton did about 2 years ago. He said these numbers are bullshit because everybody knows everybody gets 90% of their traffic from Google. What do you do? Because Yahoo 20%. Is there anybody getting 20% of their search traffic from Yahoo? 15? Can you hold your hands up if you're at 15? How many are you doing paid inclusion? Okay, that's interesting. So, and I struggle with this. I'm actually in the midst of a whole thing where I'm going back to each of these companies and I'm like saying, right, let's talk more about how you got these numbers, which has been very interesting because it's so difficult to get them to start enrolling in it. And I've been like saying, well, you either enroll how you get the numbers or there's not reporting them. And then they go, you don't report, I don't care. No, but the problem I think that tends to happen is that with Yahoo, those numbers reflect the number of search queries that happened. That they detected someone did some kind of a search, but not necessarily a search that departed the website. So I think that what's happening with Yahoo, I think what's happening with Google is that there are, sorry, let me go back. I think what happened with Yahoo is that a lot of the searches that happen at Yahoo may very well be leading you back into Yahoo. You do a search, it takes you to a Yahoo property. So it was a search that happened, but it wasn't an outbound search that generated some traffic. I think that Microsoft may have a similar situation that's happening with them, or they're just not used or counted correctly. So I think that's why you see Google is so high. So I think that it may be a case that Yahoo is more internally pointing stuff. Google doesn't have a lot of its own properties to point at, although they're working on that very hard.
One of the this is from 2006, right? And this is from Inquisit, who monitors. They basically have analytics across many sites, capture several billion queries every week. And Richard's Wiki kind of posted their data, and this is old, right? And we're seeing 78% of all referral traffic coming from Google versus 6% for Yahoo. I think those are good examples. The other things, I mean, that you said, Danny, one of the things that with Yahoo is if you're doing paid inclusion with Yahoo, you tend to see a ton more traffic from that, even though it's not supposed to influence.
Can you hit stat market, do a search for stat market?
Stat market?
So you're saying what he asked is normal?
Yeah. We have only worked this one.
No, actually go back to the website story. I think I bought it.
This one?
Yeah, but I don't want you to go there because
you don't want me to go there.
I want you to bring up that slide.
What do you want me to go to?
Do a search. That's, I mean, you can go to it. That's my old article. We're reading it up. I'll show you.
Okay.
I'm going to rule the search market. What do you think? So, stat market, I used to report on them for a long time, as you can see, like 2004. But what they did is, most of the other things, they get their data based on watching what the users are doing. Stat market got its data looking at like what 1 million websites are getting their traffic to. Can you hit? I want to go to the Stat Market website, their website story. So do a search for website story. Did Omniture buy them?
Yeah.
That's why I was getting them when we were Stat Market, and they may not be reporting that information anymore. Okay, then go back one more, Ren. If you can give me just one more second, so we can kill the horse. Do a search for OneStat.
This one?
No, yeah, that's fine. I mean, we want to go. Yeah, that's good. At a 404. Oh, all right, excellent. Hit the press room over there on the side. Let's see if they did that. 2 word phrases. There we go. There we go. Hit it. Go back up. No, not mystical usage. Wrong one. Go back. That was my mistake. Scroll down a bit more. Oh, they haven't done it for a while. Because see, they used to do search engine things. So you can see it down there. So they haven't done their numbers for a while.
yeah.
It's very similar to what Inquisitive had, though, when you would see these numbers. It was like Google ruled everything.
Well, one of the things that I thought was fascinating, one of my favorite stories was that the only sites I ever heard of that got more traffic from, this was specifically Yahoo, and this was in 2005, but they got more traffic from Yahoo than they did from Google. And people were like, what the hell? Who is this guy? And it turns out it was all NASCAR-related terms. Yeah. And it turned out that Yahoo's market share in that demographic was dominant, just crazy dominant. And they were doing paid inclusion, which probably helped too. But they were just dominant. Yahoo was dominating their queries, right? More people who tend to be interested in NASCAR tended to be Yahoo users. And so I thought that was phenomenally interesting. And definitely, if you look at the reverse is also true. If you're a technology company, like 99% is Google. So
I just happen to know that. I know that Hitwise and ComScore, they all buy ISP data for the lion's share of their information, and they tend to buy that from highly consumer-oriented ISPs. So it's very inaccurate when it comes to B2B kind of searches, and also they tend to be for the same states that people vote for George Bush. And they happen to use a lot of Yahoo. so it was in line with Danny's comments before.
You'll see some overrepresentation. Okay, I apologize. I think we're going to have to close things down, but I invite you, first off, to thank our panelists.